Welcome. Hello, everybody. It's me, Hank, your host, Hank. I'm joined by me. Welcome to the show, Winners and Losers show on YouTube, the apps, and everywhere else you can get your podcasts. It's not on SoundCloud, and I don't think I have a Spotify account anymore, so it's literally not everywhere else. But you could find it on your apps. I find it through Overcast is the app that I use for searching for podcasts and stuff, and it's on that one because of the iTunes distribution. This is a great start to the show. Welcome, everybody. Got some interesting videos to go through today. A little scattered, not exactly a cohesive theme. Some TYT stuff to talk about. Nothing super detailed. I just saved a few moments. There was an interesting person wrote in to Cenk, like they call them social breaks, and they were praising Cenk and Anna for inspiring them to unionize. And they were like, "Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Well, boy, if only people knew. If only." It's weird to be like, "Hey, union buster, guy who lied to his audience about his own union to prevent the audience from learning why his workers unionized. Exploitative working conditions. You inspired me to union." But again, I'm not assuming this person knew that. But that's why. See, I'll get to this, but this why I'm doing this project, because people think that Cenk is someone who should be praised for inspiring unionization, when in fact he's anti-worker union busting scoundrel. That's what union busters are. It's not true at all. But again, the person didn't know. That's the whole point. I want to find those people that were lied to and were misled, and then so they can have the a more accurate story and then actual information about it. Yeah, I mean, Cenk did inspire a union at his work, at his place of business, because of how he treats workers and how he treated workers. But that's not exactly the kind of like positive inspiration we look for. We were trying to get one of us health care for working full time, and maybe stop this bullshit where you call somebody part time while they're working 40 hours a week, so you can keep their fucking Labor Day money and their and their days off money and not give them any. Okay, good. Clearly, you have plenty more emotions to process about all that. Couple things. Oh, and a Sam Cedar. The big meat of today's meal is going to be Sam Cedar going on Tim Pool. Just going to ramble about that a bunch. I got a couple things clipped. It's mostly the abortion, so it's a really unhappy convo, honestly. But, if you're into politics online, you're used to unhappy convos. When's the last time you had a happy convo? Never. There hasn't been any happy convos. There hasn't been any upbeat discourse. That's short for discourse. You're supposed to shorten words to save time. There hasn't been any insightful tete-a-tete. See, I shortened tete-a-tete. See how good I am at broadcasting? Hi. I was saying this earlier on a take that I abandoned. Why am I referring back to something that's already been deleted? But I want to be on the radio. I really want to be a radio guy. I hate setting up and I hate finishing, but I like talking. This gives me energy. I feel good right now, even though I'm not doing a good job of it. So, yes, still untreated ADHD. Been walking a bunch, which actually helps my body. I've actually been able to get a lot done around the house. We're working on kind of a declutter project. If only I could just like work really hard at that for like 2 or 3 or 4 days and finish it all. But I'm making this much better progress in the last few weeks than I have in quite a long time. So some positives there. Doing okay overall. Busted my butt to get this video out, which you can see on screen here. This thumbnail, which actually I think is one of my better thumbnails. I quite like this one here, where it's Cenk saying, "No, I am definitely not a union buster," in quotes. What evidence, he said to Hanzi. And so that's fun. This gets into a lot of details. So let's get into this actually really quickly. But before we do, I just want to give a quick plug to me. Come over to Suck Professor, my old channel. Look at that, 7,000 subscribers. 1.3 thousand videos. Yeah, I wasn't fucking around. I was never fucking around. This is my old deal here. This is where I learned how to level up at video editing, plus a bunch of other ways. But this is what I did for much of my last 12 years. I haven't touched it in quite a while, though. We had built a nice little audience doing shot-by-shot breakdowns. We'd take like 800 screenshots of a Game of Thrones episode and then go through it kind of like a podcast. So maybe get back to stuff like that eventually. But I'm inviting you to go over to Suck Professor and watch me play Valheim. These are the new ones that I just posted right here. It's just it's a cool game. You drive around in boats and you run around on land. I was going to say drive around in shoes. You run around on your bare foot or shoes, and they call them boots if you're a tough guy. And you gather up resources, and you steal stuff from distant lands, and it's an exciting adventure. I actually quite really love how meticulous. It's sort of like an open world survival craft game, kind of like Minecraft, if you're sort of into that. But it gives me a lot of stuff to do. There's a fishing game in there that's a nice and challenging. It's risky. You die a lot. I mean, you die enough where you die. Oh my God, I already got 18 views. That's cool. Someone even left a nice comment. They said, "Oh, I'm glad you're still alive." I was like, "Yeah, me. It makes one of us." Yeah, I didn't ask for this fucking shit. But I've worked out my thumbnail scheme. I think I might broaden this. Oh, God damn it, it keeps autoplaying. I might broaden that like beam thingy, or maybe even just get rid of it. But I might mess with that a little bit more. But we're doing some A/B testing. That's sophisticated online content talk. That of course we're all online content creators, aren't we? Don't we all just need some of that sweet Taylor Swift dopamine? Just a little, just because someone tapped a little heart and a little red pixel showed up on your phone, and your body allowed you just to feel joy for the speed at which neurochemicals flow across the synapse, only to then create a deficit upon which can only be fulfilled by yet another boop. Oh, I love it. I got it. So I'm desperate for all that, obviously. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, A/B testing is they let you do multiple thumbnails, which is kind of fun. And so I have 3 different size thumbnails for each of these. Well, I only have 2 for this one, but the only difference is that it's that face guy, my Hank character, with a different size. That's all it is. So we're seeing what the crowd reacts to, and then we'll dial it in, and we'll make ourselves millions. I got to do these news dumps again. I haven't done one of these, man. Let's just watch this one. Wow.
Hey! It's news dump. News dump. Time for. Hi there. I'm live on location in Night City, the setting for the upcoming game from Witcher 3 makers CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk 2077. Of all the big title announcements at E3, this one has me most excited. It's a first-person open-world science fiction RPG. What does all that mean? It means it's gonna be fucking awesome, that's what it means. It's basically Witcher 3, except he has Twitter. In case you don't know, Witcher 3 is about a sexy vampire who uses violence, magic, and save games to solve problems. It won Game of the Year and tons of awards. If you haven't played it, you're missing out. It's a great game. Check out our playthrough in the description. CD Projekt Red knows how to make a great game. And that's exactly what I expect Cyberpunk 2077 to be. Jason Schreier of Kotaku describes it as an impressive blend of Deus Ex and The Witcher 3.
Why did I stop doing these? I'd be rich if I kept doing these fucking news dumps. I want to jump ahead here. I think there's a moment coming up. Everything I do takes more work than I can hold, but this is good. I could do a 2-minute, hey, here's a couple of jokes, and then say something.
8 scenes, a kick-ass font. Dude, I just love this futuristic shit. Like, you can do upgrades and stuff. Like, now my eye can zoom. Now my arm is metal. My gun has a laser. My gun has a green laser. Double smoke grenade. That kind of stuff. It's the exact kind of science fiction setting I love to explore and get lost in, one where danger lurks around every corner.
That's awesome. Come on. Even the blood has glare. The blood has glare. Come on, give me some credit for that. Oh yeah, I did that. I remember. Sorry, we gotta watch that again. But now I'm just watching. This is a terrible podcast here. This is great. I forgot how good this was.
And get lost.
All right, watch them.
That kind of stuff. It's the exact kind of science fiction setting I love to explore and get lost in, one where danger lurks around every corner.
I gotta get back on that shit. That really made me feel. Why did I ever doubt myself? Huh? Jesus. Okay, so get onto Suck Professor. Link in the description. It's also easy to find it. And what a great name too, by the way. People get goofy at me sometimes. Oh, like on Rocket League, they'll be like "Suck Professor," and they can just immediately be like, "Shut up." So yeah, more of those to come up. So back over to the story. We're gonna watch a little piece of this one. This is this long ass one. I put this up on Reddit on BreadTube. Nervous, didn't want to upset the lefties on there. They're all well-meaning, well-read, erudite crowd. Wasn't sure if it was okay to promote your own thing, but I thought with that thumbnail and with the nature of this topic, since I kind of start out really clearly explaining stuff. In fact, let's go back, and it got it's well over 100 upvotes. It stated I think it was number 1 on the BreadTube for a little while, for a good, so it was in the top 5 on BreadTube for a good stretch, which is cool. A lot more upvotes than most of them on there, I was grateful to see that, and some people commenting. So things are looking up in the project. Also, thank you to anybody who's donated. I've actually seen some donations in the last month or two, which, holy crap, I was giving up on that whole notion. It had rarely worked in the past. It worked, but I'm just saying, that's the fact that people are acknowledging that, and it makes me feel like seen in a way, because I worked so many days before this thing was even public at all, just 10-hour days, 12-hour days. So obviously I took plenty of breaks, but and especially in the run up when Cenk announced that he was running for president, I didn't think he was going to become president. But just on the off chance that somehow that meant more media coverage, I really pushed hard to try to get it out before he stopped running for president, which of course we all knew would happen. Possibly even after two successful terms as the greatest president of all time. That was somewhat unlikely, and it didn't happen either. But and I did get it out before he quit, like a day or two. But during that run up, I worked 10, 12-hour day. I just was going so hard to try to get it out and to get it done. So it means the world to me that people are care enough to see this work and want to see it through, and also to throw in a few bucks to help and to acknowledge the amount of time and effort that went into it. Because I've been getting some flatter when people say the editing is good. I'm like, yes, fuck yeah. Damn right it is. It's fucking really good. So people pay me money to teach. So by the way, I am gearing up to I'm not close to this. I have too much to do before I really get it done, but I am kind of arranging things around with my organization, laying the groundwork to start doing some tutorial stuff, which I hope to get to work on. That's kind of what the Suck Professor deal is, and that's also what the tutorial stuff I want to do, with hopes that it might end up getting a chance to teach people. The notion is that I'll be able to do stuff that's not so horrible and miserable as this podcast. And I want to have more fun with this podcast too, but the politics is just wearing my awful little why did I call myself awful? My heart awfully worn out is feeling pretty bad these days. That was not a good sentence, but so I'm sorry. So as you've seen, TYT Cenk denying that he's a union buster is such a ridiculous thing. This is from episode 203, but I edited this clip here. It's got a shit ton of evidence showing that Cenk is indeed a union buster, asking people to after watching it to compare his statement that there's no evidence. He didn't say there's no. He said what evidence as well, and that he's not a union buster to all this union busting. It's absolutely crazy that he did that. And I want to do a correction, though, as a journalist, as someone who cares about the truth, as someone who's making a documentary about credibility in media and ethics in journalism and ethics in media and owning a media company while being a politician and all that shit, calling out Cenk and Anna for spreading misinformation about their own workers. When I say Anna's not management. She doesn't deserve the same level of ire as does the person who actually is calling the shots, but she did signal boost the company's bullshit lie, and has yet to retract and apologize for it. So we're just going to play this opening, and then I'm going to correct something that I had gotten egregiously wrong. I I failed. I really fucked up. And I'm going to say I'm sorry for it, but I want you to see it first. Here's the opening bit. Okay, we'll just play it. We get to it pretty fast. But this is going to be me talking on my podcast. This happened.
By the way, you're so pro worker, right? Then why is your ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster then?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll answer all these. Even though, like, so this is just random.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So.
Well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother. You've had a nice run. Bye-bye.
Panic hangs up on the guy. Doesn't pause. Panic hangs up on the guy. Doesn't want to talk about his union busting. Uh-oh, run. Oh, no. Accountability. Run. That's my Cenk Uygur impression. Fuck. And, it works better if I wear an ill-fitting sport coat. I want to talk about the union busting. Hi, everybody. I'm Hank. I helped start the union. You know this. Let's skip just a few minutes here. I'm talking about the documentary. Hold on. It's going to make sense. Just come with me here. We're walking down the hallway here.
Earliest days of TYT.
Okay, back up. I mean, forward. The opposite of backing up. This person calls in. Who is this person? Hansi, we call this person. Former Howard Stern caller, Hansi. Actually, this guy who called in is a dude named Hansi. He calls into the Matt Binder program. He's another guy on YouTube.
Hey, Hansi, the moment everyone's been waiting for. That's why people watch this show, not for me, but for Hansi's calls.
Because then they opted.
Hansi earned himself his own song and intro from the YouTube royalty-free library. And by the way, DaVinci Resolve. Can we get some easier stop motion, motherfucker? Jesus Christ! Just give me a checkbox. I said stop motion. I meant to say motion blur. That's actually what I want.
To do a 4-hour show, bonus show to take calls. So I kept calling in and doing it was way more of a struggle to call in. Honestly, when I got through, I didn't know that he was gonna keep me on and actually have a conversation. That took me by surprise. That's why I just kept saying, "You're a fucking."
Yeah, you were on there for a while, man.
Well, the whole point was, even though that call didn't really go anywhere specific, at the end when I accused him of being a union buster, because there's some ex-employees of his that have been doing compiling threads about the evidence of Cenk trying to stop the union back a couple of years ago. I know I did that I was all over the place, but I wanted to get that portion out, so that got clipped by a lot of people. Like the one guy that does the threads that worked for TYT, who said that Cenk did stop the union. He compiled the whole thread, but I wanted Cenk to deny it on the air in order for it to really mean something. So at least I got that out of him. But I did like my line about saying that I'm gonna name my band after them, the transphobic pieces of shit, or whatever. I thought that was pretty good. But
Matt Binder also does stuff with Majority Report. Super nice dude. And so I recognized the guy's name when he tweeted it out. So Hansi, his name is Scott. No, that's not true. His name is not Scott. I trusted the name that was in the part where people put their name, and now I look like a fucking idiot, like a fool, like I don't have any ethics. I should have fact-checked it. I don't go around fact-checking people's names when it sounds like a name. Sound like a little bit of a weird name, but I wasn't judging someone's fucking name. Everybody's name sounds weird. They're all what are we gonna be like? So Hansi seems like a very good guy, honestly, and he's a hero of this story. That sequence he just watched, some version of that with better motion blur, will be included in the final version of the film because it's absolutely critical to see for people to understand that Cenk is hiding. Cenk is terrified of having to honestly explain to his audience why his workers unionized. You've heard my whole story about me misclassified in order to not get benefits under multiple classifications, but it's just, the generalized disrespect and all the other, whatever the workers won, they tweeted out what they did and, pay raise and firing protections and such and stuff like that. I'm recalling from their tweet. I'm not telling you anything. I don't know what else they got, but That's the stuff that needed to be addressed, that we could only fix with collective bargaining. So anyway, Hansi is not named. I want to just switch. So this is my summary of, let's go to that tweet here. I had called this guy Scott. I said, yeah, I even I was trying to be respectful. I assumed that Hansi was some online nickname. So he goes, but here he says Scott Halal, and I had put him in the transcript, or I don't know what you call this, but Scott, are you a union buster? And so SH, Scott Halal, that's what that is. And I kept referring to him as Scott. And the nice man that he is, he clearly knew I wasn't out to try to make him feel bad or something, but he came on Twitter and says, hey, just to clarify, I keep laughing when you say this in the video. My name is not Scott, it's Imran. Scott Halal is a spoof of the wrestler Scott Hall. See, halal, is that a food or something? I have no idea. I'm really ignorant. All right, Imran, why don't you put your fucking name in the goddamn part where you put your name, Imran? See, this is why I don't have friends, guys, by the way. This is the problem. So I told him, I said, not according to my research, Scott. He retweeted that. So we're having fun. I promise to retract and apologize. And unlike TYT, unlike journalism professor Anna Kasparian and master media mind and the mastermind of capitalism, slightly better capitalism, bruh, Cenk Uygur, I will fess up when I got something wrong, admit that I was incorrect, and apologize to my audience for sending them down a course that might not have been the truth and the proper level of investigatory praxis. I failed. I fucked up, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to Scott. I'm sorry to Imran Halal. What's your last name? I don't really. You don't have to tell me. It's not like when I say I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's just that it literally doesn't matter. Maybe you don't want your last name out there. Yeah. So yeah. I really don't care about stuff like that. And it's genuinely not like your name doesn't matter. It's just like whatever it is, it's going to be something. So it's all the same to me, So yeah, anyway, sorry about that, buddy. Didn't mean to fuck up. I'll probably just try to call you Hansi, but I've got you labeled Scott in my brain already. So I have the kind of brain that sometimes things can be real sticky. It can also be real not sticky, but nevertheless, shout out to Imran's contributions to the project for being an annoying, persistent caller and getting under the skin and actually confronting a union buster for their union busting. Much deserved animation, much deserved motion blur. I had to do this, man, not that one.
Hey, Hansi, the moment everyone's been waiting for. That's why people watch this show, not for me, but for Hansi's calls.
This motion blur, watch, ready? Right there. There's like 3 frames. I just did directional blur. It's really annoying to do it manually. There's other ways of doing motion blur in DaVinci, in Fusion, but just give me a fucking checkbox. Everybody wants motion blur when they do transform effects, man. That one, no motion blur on that one, but it's so sudden. But anyway, so Hansi gets a big yellow text for doing what nobody in the progressive sphere has done. Nobody online has called Cenk out for his union busting. Nobody on any single show he's gone on has ever asked him about it and forced him to say something about it and address this massive thing that's hanging out there. So hopefully that happens sooner than later. Not that everybody in the progressive sphere is always on the air with Cenk precisely. I know that. It's not necessarily the case. But only someone like Imran had the guts to do it and to say something and to take advantage of the time when he was taking phone calls. So good on you, man. Well done. Keep it up. I think the left needs to follow Imran's example. Maybe instead of figuring out which woke words we should stop using in order to appease the right wing, as if they don't have enough institutional fucking bias, maybe we should follow Hansi's lead. Maybe the future we need is where people stand up to powerful people on behalf of working class people. Maybe the progressive sphere should follow Hansi's lead here. Not to just make it only about Cenk Uygur. I'm saying that like it did occur to me. I did kind of realize like this whole conversation that's happening on the left right now about what's next. Oh, we got Jay Leno with he fell down. He's hurt. So we'll get to that in a second. But we got this whole conversation about what's next and how's the left supposed to recover and this and that and all. There's this whole ongoing discourse about it right now. And this whole story kind of captures exactly it. Do we keep just bullshitting and trying to find the right marketing slogan? Now Cenk has decided he's an economic populist. He likes to describe himself, there's the 2016 Bernie Sanders populists. Really, Cenk? Does that include union busting? Does that include lying about union busting? Smearing your own workers publicly? Is that the kind of Bernie politics that the populists are for? Shit pay? Using that classification to not give people benefits? Stuff that Bernie would probably find abhorrent? I find it abhorrent. Or is it empowering workers to gather into groups and to create the conditions for solidarity? Because that's what we need. We need the conditions in which solidarity can flourish. Because solidarity is the strongest fucking thing we got. That just means people looking out for each other. People can pursue other forms of building community locally, doing mutual aid, working to build their foundation within their own world offline. All very important factors in it. But in these labor battles, maybe we should be leaning towards this kind of thing. Workers actually saying enough with this shit. We're not putting up with it anymore, and we're going to do something about it. And we're going to stand up to these people that have all the power. Because that's what happened at the Young Turks. We weren't looking for slogans. We were just looking for one of us to get fucking health insurance, as well as other reasons. But yeah, all right. So we're gonna get back to that a little bit. We got some TYT clips to look at in DaVinci, and so let's keep it moving though. I do want to do a lot of personal rambling, but I think we did enough of that up front. Jay Leno, everybody's favorite hero. You were probably there's an above average chance that 60% of the people watching this were conceived to Jay Leno's voice. Oh, yeah, throwing a lot of loads on the mom over there. That's my Jay Leno impression. He likes to talk about throwing loads. But famous, rich. He filled in for Johnny Carson for a long time. But he was on Tuesdays, which is when you were conceived. And then he took over. Then for the longest time, he was Jimmy Fallon's chair warmer. He held the seat for decades, hundreds of years. Doing his stories. Comes out. He does the little heel flip to let you know that he just said something funny. Real bland. Yellow number 5, red number 7, just filled with chemical dyes that are only allowed in America. And that was what Jay Leno did for the society. Capable. Of course, he only never lived off his stand-up money. He didn't. I don't spend my. What am I doing on Jay Leno? It's not even that good. I think I could nail it if I practiced. He owns a lot of cars. He's a huge car, like crazy collection of cars, and that's all pretty cool. So he's done some stuff with his cars. I'm actually surprised to see him not wearing denim. That's usually been his thing. He was a denim guy, but evidently he's injured. This is Inside Edition, and they're talking with him. He's wearing an eye patch. Let's see what's going on here. I really don't know.
What on earth happened to Jay Leno?
Oh, your poor face.
Look at my eye.
Oh, God, no. God, he's got mummy face. His face is all purple. His whole left side of his face is a big bruise. Yeah, look at my eye. Well, what are you wearing the patch for, Jay? Obviously, the patch is healthy. We want to protect foreign objects like bees and dirt and flying soda caps from flying into your eyeball. So yes, protect the injured wound, but also protect us from having to look at it. If there was an eye patch big enough for my whole body, I would wear one. I don't like people looking at my way I am.
Jay Leno is all bruised up. The left side of his face is black and blue. His eye is swollen shut.
Jeez.
And look at his injured wrist.
Oh, he fucked up his wrist, huh? What'd you do? Get a woodworking job?
Broke my wrist. Lost the nail on the finger.
Ooh, that's a rough one. Popping a nail off. I went on a walk once. It was a hiking thing, like 40 miles over several days, and it was one of the most formative experiences of my life, because by the end of it, I gained a lot of confidence and I felt quite good. I do remember feeling very proud the final day that we finally finished it. But I did actually rip off a toenail somehow. And I never felt it. I never noticed it until like one day I was just like, because you're kind of gross and grimy and you don't change your clothes much. And so I didn't. Then after the trip, I was like, oh my God, my toenail's all fucked up. That's nuts, isn't it?
And then I'm all black and blue.
The comedian says
That's good. I like that he did wear clothing that just camouflages how.
he fell down a 60-foot hill.
I said, well, the hill doesn't look that steep. Let me take it down. And
Rich people live near hills. Sometimes you got to pay the price. Okay, you want to live away from the pores, up with your retaining walls and your weird, slopey, multi-angled driveways. Getting delivery, it's fucking annoying. You got to get through the gate.
then
You rolled down a hill?
oh,
That's not true.
no, that's true.
Jay Leno said
I believe it. He seems like the kind of guy that would overconfidence himself into falling down a hill. What if he got hit? What if what if a large bat flew into him and knocked him down?
as he was staying at a Hampton Inn about 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh on Saturday night when he wanted to have dinner at a local restaurant before his show. Instead of walking
Wait, Jay Leno stays at Hampton Inn? I can understand in a pinch, or I can understand it's just convenient. Maybe there's just nothing else. But come on, you have that kind of money. He's got to have 100 million. He was making tens of millions.
walking a mile and a half down the road, he decided to take a shortcut down the hill. Not a good idea. This is believed to be
Oh, it sounds like he got there faster. Oh, look, they got a video.
the steep incline.
That's where he fell. I'm so sorry. I'm laughing because he's fine. By the way, if he was like still at the, what if this video pulled back and there's Jay at the bottom of the hill? Can't move, can't roll off of his back, like a deer that just got hit by a car.
He tumbled down.
Well, I hit a bunch of rocks. It was 60 feet.
Incredibly, the famous workaholic legend performed just 3 hours later without even
Well, folks, I guess tell you something you shouldn't fuck with: gravity. He doesn't say fuck. What if he got hit in the head, the kind, and he turned into like a real dirty Andrew Dice Clay kind of comedian? Starts swearing.
taking a day off to nurse his injuries. Last night, he was back at it again, performing at a comedy show in Beverly Hills. This is just the latest mishap to afflict Leno in recent years. In November 2022, he was severely burned in a fire inside his garage.
I went to the Grossman Burn Center and I got a new face. That's a brand new ear.
Leno needed skin grafts, and there he is undergoing
Look at him.
hyperbaric therapy at the world-renowned Grossman Burn Center in
It's funny that they got to hold the phone. Can't you get a phone you can clip on? Jesus, don't you need your hands?
Los Angeles. Tomorrow night, he'll perform at Comedy for a Cause in Hermosa Beach
right, good.
to raise money for the Burn Foundation. His thank you for saving his life.
Will you be able to see again?
It'll be fine. I'm not worried about it.
Hey, you know what? He's rolling with it. He's having fun. Why not? I'd probably be okay with that too. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I'm all fucked up. I mean, that's what I do anyway. That's my whole thing. I'm just mostly fucked up on the inside. Well, that's too bad. All right, let's move it along here. We got a lot to do. What's next? Something else? Oh yeah, Ben Affleck. I just bookmarked this. Apparently, he says some intelligent shit about AI. I'm not a fan. I find AI to be a big threat. I think that it's just exactly what we don't need at the exact time we don't need it, which is another way for powerful people to offload their responsibility to humanity while still trying to benefit from humanity. It's a way for wealthy people to, someone tweeted this, or at least this paraphrase sentiment, is that it's a way for wealthy people to access talent that they don't have. And these media companies are going to try to use it in order to, empower themselves, enrich themselves, disempower others, and fundamentally rewrite everything. In fact, there's probably far more drastic ways that this world could be changed by some of this stuff. And the scariest thing about it is that it's in the hands of people who don't care about people. It's in the hands of capitalists. But anyway, not that it's an important thing. It's multifaceted, and so it's important to get intelligent takes on it too. Let's click play.
I want to, as we kind of wrap up here, I do want to come back to AI. Jerry, you mentioned it, but Ben, how do earlier you guys weren't here? We did a demonstration. My colleague Andrew Sorkin and I recreated ourselves and our voices. How do you see it? I mean, is it a benefit?
Andrew No, wait, sorry, I was thinking of the guy that wrote The West Wing. Never mind.
Or is it a real threat? Is it possible that a Netflix could say, you know, we're going to do our own, James Bond thing out there with a bunch of actors that are completely recreated for this market or that market?
A, that's not possible now. B, will it be possible in the future? Highly unlikely. C,
Aaron Sorkin. He said Andrew Sorkin. I had to confirm that. All right, we got to back up and hear what Batman says.
A bunch of actors that are completely recreated for this market or that market.
A, that's not possible now. B, will it be possible in the future? Highly unlikely. C, movies that will be one of the last things, if everything gets replaced, to be replaced by AI. AI can write you excellent imitative verse that sounds Elizabethan. It cannot write you Shakespeare. The function of having 2 actors or 3 or 4 actors in a room and the taste to discern and construct that is something that currently entirely eludes AI's capability, and I think will for a meaningful period of time. What AI is going to do is going to disintermediate the more laborious, less creative, and more costly aspects of filmmaking that will allow costs to be brought down, that will lower the barrier to entry, that will allow more voices to be heard, that will make it easy.
Also, it eliminates jobs for those people that are doing those costly. He's not wrong, I don't think, but like it's not like it eliminates barriers to entry. Yes, the tools will provide some people with an ability to just like autofill or content aware fill in Photoshop. That's not, but like they're
easier for the people who want to make Goodwill Huntings to go out and make it. Look, AI is a craftsman at best. Craftsmen can learn to make stickly furniture by sitting down next to somebody and seeing what their technique is and imitating. That's how large video models, large language models basically work. A library of vectors of meaning and transformers that interpret it in context, right? But they're just cross-pollinating things that exist. Nothing new is created.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet, and really
creating like fractal hallucinations that slowly, through what's the word I'm looking for? Xeroxing themselves through the what you lose every time you duplicate it. Every time there's an iteration, it becomes more and more of a mud, more and more of a impenetrable slop. I haven't seen the term AI slop, and that seems to be kind of taking. I think that's a decent term.
In order to do that, look, craftsman is knowing how to work, art is knowing when to stop. And I think knowing when to stop is going to be a very difficult thing for AI to learn because it's taste. And also lack of consistency, lack of controls, lack of quality. AI for this world of generative video is going to do key things more. I wouldn't like to be in the visual effects business. They're in trouble. Because what costs a lot of money is now going to cost a lot less. And it's going to hammer that.
But it's good news for Wall Street. Good news for rich people that don't have talent. So let system working as it's designed.
That space, and it already is. And maybe it shouldn't take 1,000 people to render something. But it's not going to replace human beings making films. It may make your background more convincing. It can change the color of your shirt. It can fix mistakes that you've made. It can make it, you might be able to get 2 seasons of House of the Dragon in a year instead of 1. And if that happens, according to macroeconomics, in cultures where there are basically oligopolies competing, what should happen is with the same demand and the same spend is they should just make more shows, which should, you should have the same spend and now you can just watch more episodes. And eventually AI will allow you to ask for your own episode of Succession, where you could say, I'll pay $30 and can you make me a 45-minute episode where like Kendall gets the company and runs off and has an affair with Stewie. And it'll do it. And it'll be a little janky and a little bit weird, but it'll know their stats, it'll know those actors, and it will, remix it in effect.
Right.
And destroy like massive amounts of the environment via pollution and water waste and it's maybe not such a good idea.
We'll do that. That's the value, in my view, long-term of AI for consumers, which is eventually my hope for AI is that it's an additional revenue stream that can replace DVD, which took 15 to 20% out of the economy of filmmaking, which is, and there should be negotiated rights and residual rights to say, if you want to, because what do people want to make? 5-minute, 30-second TikTok videos where they look like the Avengers. Well, great. You can, just like you used to be able to buy your Iron Man costume at the store, you're going to buy your Iron Man pack and you and your buddies are going to look like Iron Man and Hawkeye, like, on Twitch. That's what's going to really happen.
Yeah, I think he's got a good grasp on it. He clearly has looked into this stuff and has some thoughts. You know, he can put a thought together in a way that's, I think, unexpected, which is why this went around. But he was described here the most articulate and realistic explanation where video models in Hollywood is going. Sure, okay, well, great. Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, there's a new podcast I'm looking forward to listening with guy I've mentioned before in here, Brian Merchant, who wrote a book called Blood in the Machine about the Luddites. He's a tech columnist for LA Times before he got laid off earlier this year. I know he's part of their unionizing effort or something. Someone I want to reach out to at some point. I occasionally comment on his tweets, but he started a podcast with this other guy named Paris Marks, who does a podcast called Tech Won't Save Us. Their new podcast is called System Crash. So it's like about tech and futurism and AI stuff. And it's all sort of stuff that I kind of want to lean my attention over to a little bit more as well. I also caught a really great interview of, I haven't finished watching it, with Cory Doctorow, a really smart dude, writer, author guy, on the Real News Network with Max Alvarez. So look for that. That's also fascinating on this topic. So, okay, fine. You'll be able to order up a video of you as the Avengers. I think there's a very dark side to AI that we're going to be seeing as they enact their fever vision dream of eliminating humanity. They're not just going to kill you. They're just going to let people die off as they can replace labor, intellectual labor and physical labor with robots. Not necessarily just human-shaped robots, but all kinds of configurations and all kinds of stuff, and the way that those things can iterate their own evolution internally through simulation is a drastic way that they'll be able to develop. And there's probably a lot of positive uses in a world that wasn't ill-intentioned, but we don't live in a world that's not ill-intentioned. We live in a world where it's, monstrous people with severe psychological disorders, often largely informed by childhood trauma and child abuse and unresolved and unprocessed, underdeveloped emotional stature or status. It's not the word. I don't know what even word I'm looking for. Emotional standing. And these are the types that end up in charge of places, and they also the types that will not see the abuses. The whole nice thing about a large complex society is that the abuse can be several stages away from you, that you don't have to be concerned with the pollution that you're causing, hurting people, or the way that the labor abuses or the pollution that comes from the gathering up the raw materials process. But we can feed our information system with AIs that destroy the environment in order to produce clicks for the advertisers. Even better, it's still fundamentally about people, having eyeballs and pointing their eyeballs at something. That's what all this stuff is. By the way, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I see a dark side of it, though, where in the distant future, and when I say distant, I kind of mean after you're dead, maybe within a few generations, but it won't be super fast, but they're already starting when they're going to keep some populations of humanity around, particularly attractive people, probably attractive females, to abuse them and to use them for the industry surrounding those types of appetites. I also envision scenarios where people have AI girlfriends or AI intimate partner type simulators, but at a certain stage, there's going to be like those kind that are designed to be severely abused, like to be taken advantage of in ways that are very dark and very scary. But it's not a human, it's not actually a person, so we can have the feedback system for some deranged person. Like the idea that there won't be a market for that there won't be like this underground market for like really ugly, dark impulses of humanity, because we seem to be leaning into the dark, scary impulses side of humanity these days, don't we? All right, well, speaking of that, I'm fucking hungry. Okay, speaking of that, so I'm sure you've been seeing Donald Trump. Actually, let's turn this. I did the thing. Does that help? Let's try it for a little while. Ugh, I feel the brightness. It looks kind of cool, actually. Trump has been appointing his cabinet, nominating Matt Gaetz, Linda McMahon, Pete Hegseth from the Fox News television show. It's just Robert F. Kennedy. This Doge part, I don't even want to say it. I hope that's the last time I say it. But these fucking assholes, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, Vivek, the two guys in charge of the efficiency department that are already using it to pump up the price of their fucking Bitcoin. Like, it's okay that we're just okay with that right out the gate. Just this massive way for some of the world's wealthiest people, if not the wealthiest person, to just gain a bunch of marketing off of this. I'm sure they're going to do podcasts and stuff. I think I already saw that something about a podcast that they're going to do related to that. So they're going to have a media enterprise. It's folding even deeper. The entertainment, celebrity, politician thing is all becoming this big nebulous ball. So Pete Hegseth here. Here's someone asking him. He apparently paid off a person that had accused him, but I don't know if he admitted to any wrongdoing. But this is, I guess he was asked about it at something.
We take absolutely nothing for granted, and we welcome the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I have, as far as the media is concerned, it's very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much.
Wow, great line. Really sounds like you didn't do it there, buddy. As far as the media is concerned. So something else kind of like that happened with another one of Trump's appointees, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was, looks like he was on the Breaking Points podcast. And he's asked about it by Sagar and Jetty. And his answer is a bit unnerving.
And also a sexual assault allegation from one of your former nannies. So I want to give you a chance to respond to that.
Yeah. Wow, you should have seen her. She was just laying there sleeping. I saw it was this bed kill. I had to put this bed kill in my back trunk.
Sorry. The article is a lot of garbage. The picture that they said is of me eating a dog. It's actually me eating a goat in Patagonia on a whitewater trip many years ago on the Fuleifu River. They say there's an expert. They have an expert that has identified that as a dog carcass.
Yeah.
That dog carcass experts have said that it's definitely not a dog. I kind of remember some dog carcass experts weighing in. You know, we all know some dog carcass experts saying that it did appear to be a dog. I don't know. I don't have the definitive proof here on that one. Let's see.
It's just not true. So, and in terms of the other allegations, I've said this from the beginning. I am not a church boy. I am not running like that. I said in my...
I'm not a church boy. She was there, and I had impulses. What do you want me to say?
I had a very, very rambunctious youth. I said in my announcement speech that I have so many skeletons in my closet
because they taste so good. That's why after I finish eating them, if you eat carcasses, it becomes a skeleton once all the meat is gone, and then you put it in a closet.
If they could all vote, I could run for king of the world. Mm-hmm. So, they're...
So wait, his answer was, I'm not a church boy. I've been rambunctious. I have so many skeletons in my closet. If they could all vote, I would be the king of the world. If only we were voting for king of the world. What do you want, a global communist society? Robert, led by a king? That's not what communism is, by the way. Does that thing go? Well, fuck this guy.
This Vanity Fair is recycling 30-year-old stories, and I'm not, going to comment on the details of any of them, but I am who I am.
You're talking there about the nanny situation.
I am who I am.
I mean, I do have to ask her. I mean, are you denying it or not?
I'm not going to comment on it.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? Sagar followed it up. That's good. So yeah, we got Pete Hegseth. It's media concerned. It's not.
Assault a woman in Monterey, California.
I have, as far as the media is concerned, it's very simple.
It was investigated. I'm not in prison, am I? So therefore, nothing happened. I'm not a church boy. It was a goat, not a dog. God damn it. What's next here? Zohran Kwame Mamdani. And I think this guy's a politician. I'm sorry, I don't have the details. You think I would know this stuff. New York State Assembly member for District 36, running for New York City mayor to freeze the rent. Good for you, man. This is cool. Make buses fast and free and deliver childcare at no cost. Socialist. Boom. I love it. I love it. Follow him. This was going around a whole bunch before, not after, previous to now. So November 15th, 2024, he's going on asking people stuff.
Did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
I didn't vote.
And why did you not vote?
Because I don't believe in the system anymore.
And did you get a chance to vote on Tuesday?
Yes!
And who did you vote for?
Trump!
The $1 million question. Trump.
Trump.
Donald Trump. Well, actually, early voted. I voted for Trump.
Honestly, I didn't vote.
He voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump.
Me too.
Before I voted Democrat. At this moment, I voted Donald Trump.
Hillside Avenue in Queens and Fordham Road in the Bronx are two areas that saw the biggest shift towards Trump in last week's election. Even more residents didn't vote at all.
They like Trump because they don't want the Palestinian, the brothers, they killed. The war in Ukraine, the Democrats giving all the money and the war. This is no good.
The swing is because people want lower prices. They probably believe that Trump will give them that.
Market price or
Energy, gas.
La comida. Food.
Most of these people are working families. They're working 1 to 2, 3 jobs, and rent is expensive. Foods are going up, utility bills are up.
And that's your hope, to see a little bit more of an affordable life?
Absolutely. What Trump did in the first 4 years, Fordham Road saw something where Kamala couldn't do that.
There were young voters who didn't vote for her because of the genocide, and I wouldn't have voted for her if I did, but I did vote for her, obviously, because I have common sense.
Can you tell me a little bit more about why you didn't vote?
Since you're out here, Gaza, who should I vote? Either side will go ahead, send bombs from here to kill my brothers and sisters.
Palestine issue, and then other issue is like Russia and then Ukraine. He stopped that war. That's why I voted him.
You can't say you're a Democrat and stand for the genocide that's going on in Gaza, period.
Practically, I like Democrat. I like Democrat, but I don't like this. Gaza, a lot of people have died.
Have you voted for Democrats in the past?
I have.
And what would it take for you to vote for a Democrat in the future?
Being able to pay attention to the regular Americans and their economic needs.
They should make economics the forefront of their campaign. People were not really feeling it in their pocket.
I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I voted against Trump also in the 2018 midterms. Insulting us, playing on our emotions. All they do is shame you, and they just want to use like glitzy campaigns, and they get celebrities. And
like, if you're speaking the things that people want to hear about, I don't care what color you are, I'll vote for you.
We have a mayor's race coming up next year, and if there was a candidate talking about freezing the rent, making buses free, making universal child care a reality, are those things that you'd support?
Absolutely. He'd have my vote all day.
We need child care that is affordable. Buses should be free. The hike in the Metro cards is like totally unaffordable.
My name is Zohran Mamdani. I'm going to be running for mayor next year.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And I'm going to be running on that platform. Thank you.
I'm going to vote for you. Your energy is...
Thank you. My energy's getting up to inflation.
I like the Zohran guy. This is cool graphics too. I like that stark background. Yeah, good. God damn it. There's a word for. Yeah, that's amazing. That just it's just unbelievable that the Democrats ran on Dick Cheney's cool with this and joy while they're slaughtering people, while they're just absolutely destroying people's bodies and sending as much material support as is requested, if not more, to this genocidal, just utterly it's the words like the kind of stuff that you keep hearing coming out of Gaza and from the hospitals and with the Israeli soldiers, going into people's houses that they've kicked out or killed, and putting on the dresses of the people and making funny little posts and all these little games that they're playing, and the camps they run, and the rape that happens within those camps, and they're even arguing about whether the rapists should be punished or celebrated on their television shows, and like something very dark, very, very dark seems to be happening with America's enthusiastic support with Biden and with Kamala. And she was running on that. Like when they sent Bill Clinton, I don't have the video ready, but like Bill Clinton showed up to lecture people in Detroit. Was just like a stunning, out of touch, just completely infantilizing and paternalistic thing, as if any of those people needed to hear fucking Bill Clinton, overconfident old man, lecturing them about why it's justifiable that their friends and family and their cousins and people that they know from their community are all being murdered, as if it's okay. So I like this guy, Zohran Mamdani. Name's probably Scott. No, I'm joking. That's a callback to the previous part of the podcast. So good for him. And people, you noticed most of the people in that video were not white. I don't even know if I saw any of them. And they were voting for change. They were voting against the incumbent. They're voting because this country has made things incredibly expensive. At the behest of the corporations and the landlords and the people who have power, the people who can afford to bribe politicians, the type of people that are in Trump's pocket that want Trump. Trump is. I would be stunned if Trump does anything to make prices go down. There might be some sort of crash that causes some corrections to some market pricing things, but he's not going to do shit for the housing crisis. He's not going to do anything about homelessness. He's not going to do anything to rein in landlords. He's going to put in all these. He's going to get rid of Lena Khan at the FCC and end any kind of government cases that might threaten to break up some of these monopolies. He's only going to increase the access that these monopolies have to military power in order to impose their will on other countries throughout the world, not to mention threatening to turn the military on ourselves. So, but I'm not saying I'm judging these people for voting the way they voted. They voted against the people who were in power when all these prices kept going up. Not to mention, like, the benefits people experienced in the final year of COVID, or the first year of COVID, were enormous. Not everybody. For some, it was a tremendously stressful time, but the $300 child tax credit that came in, I think that was actually like giving out money. I don't think it was just maybe it was just a tax credit. I know I just called it that, but for some reason I remember it being extra money per month. But either way, though, that alleviated childhood poverty by 50%. It cut childhood poverty by 50%. We shame on us for not going harder. Well, we can cut it to. Can we cut it to 0%? Yes, absolutely. We have the money for that. Are you kidding me? Of course we do. That would be bad for Wall Street, though. Student debt payments were paused. Rent increases were paused for a little while. And as the Biden administration kept going on, every single one of those things were taken off. And they actually, so like within the last year, they did forgive quite a bit of student loan money. There's some people got substantial amounts of money reduced, and that's an important thing. Good, and it's good for those people, and they deserved it. Everybody shouldn't have to pay any of that. I think we should do a jubilee. Just get rid of all the debt. Just fucking call it a day. Every 10 years, be like, yeah, fuck it, zero. Who cares? We'll be fine. We'll just figure it out, and then we'll be fine. We'll do that. We'll do cycles of that instead they want you to, because when you're in debt, you can be controlled. So they, developed the student loan system, which is, I think, utterly immoral, completely crazy. But for a lot of people, they had their student loan payments resumed within the last year. So they're doing genocides. They're forcing people to pay back their student loans or take massive stressful hits on their credit. So no matter what you decide to do, it's horrible. They brought childhood poverty back because of that, their failure to defend the child tax credit thing, which it's fair to point out that the Democrats had Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. They had a very close thing. And so for that reason, it's fair to say, okay, well, they weren't able to really get it through because of the way the politics of the game were, but they didn't fight as hard as they could have. They weren't really fighting all that hard. Joe Biden could have done a lot more. So they gave people all kinds of reasons not to vote for them. Absolutely. And we saw it in this video. So anyway, keep your eyes on Zohran Mamdani. Also good. Seems like I do have, like that guy said at the end, good energy. I get a good energy read off of him. That's pretty good. So here, let's go to the next one here. This is kind of related, actually. Brent Welder tweeted this, but Bernie Sanders sent an email, and people are interpreting this as if he's kind of hinting at starting a third party. I think we probably do need something like that. I think the Democratic Party right now, as it's currently constituted, has absolutely no claim to be the responsible people who should be kept in charge of the party. They have no claim to that. They're just all a bunch of fucking losers. Hillary and Kamala. Biden barely squeezed by because of COVID, because they were able to keep him off the campaign trail. And that was kind of a backlash against Trump's messiness. Trump probably would have won re-election if it weren't for COVID. And then Biden lied that he was going to be a transition. So they held up this whole bullshit that he was fine and then it was going to be him. And he should have been dropped. We should have had a primary. We absolutely should have. And then instead they just said, wait till it gets so bad that he can barely, figure out where he is at that one debate. And then everybody freaks out enough. And then he brings out Kamala and endorses her. And we'll have to coalesce around that. That wasn't democracy. The Democrats are fucking around because they're terrified of stepping past the left side of the castle wall. There's a very stark, sharp line that they can't cross, which is they can't promise to make anyone's life better because that goes against their donors' interests. Your life getting better raises your leverage. Just the fact that you have a little bit less stress means that your body will function better, your sleep will be better, which means you'll be a little bit more willing to take a risk or to stand up for yourself. I know it's making it about you, but I'm talking about that in a collective, in a communal sense, is why community is bad for business. Community means people can take risks. People can do things that they might not otherwise be able to do, that they're going to be okay if they fail, or if they need help getting the thing going, then they have people behind them. They don't always have, even just the simplicity of when you live alone, you got to do all your own cooking and cleaning. When you live with someone else, not that the answer is to have two people instead of one, but it's sheer jungle physics. It's social physics. It's just if you got 10 people, it's easier for everybody to be stronger than if all 10 people have to do their own laundry, their own cooking, their own cleaning. Some people do some of the cooking, some people do the laundry, you take turns, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Fine. And so, but community and communal living and communal modes are anti-capitalist because capitalism makes more money when they atomize everything. And so then you can go, if you can make enough money, you can afford the luxury of transaction community. You can buy community as a for-profit transaction, usually through some corporation. And so when in fact community as a thing should be, it's like a default, our instincts expect it should just always be there. It's like it's like its absence as a form of pollution. So anyway, let's read this Bernie letter here. You know what? I'm going to switch it over. This light's kind of making me a little bit. There we go. Hold on. How about a small one? Oh, I have a cell phone holder. It's a gooseneck thingy that I have clamped to my table. How's that? That's fun, huh? Well, I can't see the bottom. God damn it. I'll read it though. You can count on me. Tough times, Bernie. Dear Brent, tough times. The American people understand that our economic and political systems are rigged. They know that the very rich get much richer while almost everyone else becomes poorer. They know that we are moving rapidly into an oligarchic form of society. The Democrats ran a campaign protecting the status quo and tinkering around the edges. Trump and the Republicans campaigned on change and on smashing the existing order. Not surprisingly, the Republicans won. Unfortunately, the change that Republicans will bring about will make a bad situation worse and a society of gross inequality even more unequal, more unjust and more bigoted. Will the Democratic leadership learn the lessons of their defeat and create a party that stands with the working class and is prepared to take on the enormously powerful special interests that dominate our economy, our media, and our political life? Highly unlikely. They are too much wedded to the billionaires and corporate interests that fund their campaigns. Given that reality, where do we go from here? That is the very serious question that needs a lot of discussion in the coming weeks and months. How do we expand our efforts to build a multiracial, multi-generational working class movement? How do we create a 50-state movement, not politics based on the Electoral College and battleground states? How do we deal with Citizens United and the ability of billionaires to buy elections? How do we recruit more working class candidates for office at all levels of government? 4-day work week. Should we be supporting independent candidates who are prepared to take on both parties? That's where people are saying, "Oh, that means he's talking about doing a third party." How do we better support union organizing? By making documentaries about the Young Turks union. That's my answer. And at the bottom, how do we put together listening sessions around the country that intentionally seek input from people who did not vote for Democrats in the last election? How do we best use social media to build our movement and combat the lies and disinformation coming from the billionaire class and right-wing media? Obvious, Bernie. Bernie does try-on videos where he puts on different bikinis. How do we build sustainable and long-term issue-based organizing structures that live beyond individual campaigns? These are some of the political questions that together we need to address, and it is absolutely critical that you make your voice heard during this process. Not me, Jane. That is the only way forward. In solidarity, Bernie fucking Sanders. So he's got it out there, putting out he's getting ready to start the convo, getting everybody interested. Yeah, okay, fine. I mean, I know there's a lot of judgment on Bernie for his supporting Joe Biden. My friend Joe Biden, the butcher, the great destroyer of child skulls, Joe Biden, my good buddy. Bernie's very much a go-along kind of guy. You know, he's been saying the same shit for 40 years in office, and as the lone democratic socialist, even identifying anywhere close to that word for a very long time. I think he deserves eternal credit for holding that flame for a lot of people and spreading that flame in 2016 with the popularity of his candidacy then, as well as in 2020. My movie covers a bit of his campaign in 2020 too. I mean, also not 2022, 2020, related to his endorsing Cenk Uygur, unendorsing Cenk Uygur within a span of 24 hours over some sexist stuff. But yeah, so I find him not immediately fighting hard against the genocide to a degree that I believe he could have, abhorrent. That's a big stain on his legacy. I don't believe that he was for slaughtering all those people. I can't. It seems strange to make that the conclusion, but he clearly made decisions about how his best way to exercise power within the way that he's used to it. Way that he's accustomed. So, nevertheless, I think this is important for him to put this out there to get people talking. I'll be very stunned if we move anywhere close to a proper working class representation. Chris Murphy was tweeting or talking about it somewhat, but then he's another senator who seems to have realized that we need to lean. Not just lean, but I mean, in my opinion, we need far. I mean, I want Bernie to be like considered right wing. I want to live in a country where Bernie is like the right wing guy. You know, that's the world I want to live in. But Chris Murphy, that was seeming to like sort of make a show of his that he's trying to learn these lessons that the Democrats failed so many people and gave people very little reason to vote for them, besides the fact that it's joy and then it's Dick Cheney. I'm not quoting Chris Murphy now, but then he had a tweet that said something about like, people don't want handouts. People want this. It's just like, fuck off, man. Shut the hell up. So, well, good God. How long is this? Fucking an hour already? All right. So, this is a few weeks old here, and this is the part of TYT broadcast where Cenk gets into kind of a bit of a back and forth with Jordan Uhl from the Insurgents podcast with Rob Rousseau, I believe. I like Jordan a lot. I think he does good work. He seems like a really nice guy. I'm going to talk about his role in Cenk's campaign after we watch this, but this is also the broadcast from November 8th when Cenk brought up the Vanguard. And since I've been on the Vanguard a couple times, fan of the show, Zach and Gavin are doing good work. Their channel's been growing a ton. It's just something we're going to watch, and we'll react to it, and we'll just kind of see what comes out in terms of that. But so I don't have a ton of this argument they're in about here. Okay, we can back it up a little bit. Oh no, it's never mind. So what we're going to pick it up right here where they're kind of finishing this, and Cenk has been squawking about how people who cross the border shouldn't get gender affirming care. They shouldn't be getting operations, sex change operations. And, it's the kind of stuff that the right wingers love to focus on, or media channels that are trying to appeal to right wingers might also choose to focus on this sort of thing in a way that affirms narratives that might not be might not make people who actually live in these situations feel like they're being seen or validated or supported or backed up or trusted. Cenk and Anna have both seemed to be on their own kind of correction of sorts. So we pick up here where Cenk is kind of yelling, and Jordan, I think, gets back at a little bit, and we'll just react.
Surgery, I wouldn't be in favor of it. Why are we dying on a hill? We don't, half of us, not half of us, in terms of Democratic voters, all right, last thing. Can you guys be honest and say most Democratic voters agree with me and not you guys?
Yeah, most Democratic voters agree with me. They want Medicare for all. We just talked about it. We just agree with them.
That's Jordan on the right. That's Jules. I don't. He's got like a weird long last name on the left.
Jordan, we all agree to that.
That'd be an extension of it. So,
sorry, I got to back it up here. So Jordan brings up Medicare for all.
Democratic voters agree with me. They want Medicare for all. We just talked about it. We just agree with them.
Jordan, we all agree to that.
Cenk says he agrees to Medicare for all. Of course, you know my situation, as you know. I worked as a full-time worker for him under 2 classifications where I didn't get any health insurance. So I'm not persuaded that he believes that. I know he would probably push back, but if you don't live the thing you say you believe, then do you believe it when you have the capability of living it? It's one thing if it's impossible, but when the guy contorts his fucking business practices in a way where he can call you an independent contractor when you're working alongside people doing the exact same job and they get health insurance and you don't, and the person whose role you're filling the role because the person who left was also classified as an employee. Now you're an independent contractor and Cenk's keeping your health insurance money, Cenk's keeping your day off money, Cenk's keeping your bonus money. You complain, then he makes you a part-time worker while you're working 40-hour weeks, and Cenk's keeping your health insurance money, and Cenk's keeping your bonus money, and Cenk's keeping your day off money. It becomes a little less persuasive to me if you live, and I lived it directly, making a documentary about the union we started in order to stop that shit, and he's sitting here saying that he believes in Medicare for all. Now, if he were in Congress and a bill was up to vote for it, I bet he would vote for it. I don't think that this means he'd suddenly be like, nah, I will make the world independent contractor. But he doesn't live the principles that his audience thinks they support. Anyway, that's a side note.
That'd be an extension of it. So
that
people,
would be an extension
if you're incarcerated, you don't get medical coverage. What do you think Medicare for all is? Does it cover gender affirming care? Because in my world, it does.
Okay, God bless you. You run the next election on that. I want the rest of the country to know that the great majority of Democratic.
Cenk ran his campaign on lying about his workers. He thinks he's got the whole thing figured out.
Voters,
I'm talking about the congressional campaign.
Do not believe in those issues. They believe in protecting everyone's constitutional rights, but they don't agree with these fringe issues. And here we are making the same exact mistake where you guys are defending something that is indefensible, and whether it, like, you're falling back on this simple thing of like, it's not the #1 issue, so it didn't hurt. No, that is not a logical connection. It doesn't have to be the #1 issue for it to hurt our chances of winning. Besides which, again, I don't agree. I don't agree that more crime is such a great thing, or that crime doesn't exist, or that taking a whole bunch of felonies that were terrible.
That's such straw man bullshit that more crime is a good thing. Crime doesn't. He does that all the time with this obsession that he and Anna have. Obsession is not the right word. But they cover crime stories, and largely from right-wing framing. I'm sure it's going to get discussed a bunch on Thanksgiving, which is this annual event between his nephew, Hassan, where Cenk goes over there and they talk and they get into things. So they're much more open about their differences nowadays. Not that they weren't being, upfront before, but I expect this topic to come up in the video we showed at the very beginning, the Cenk Union Buster clip. That's like 2 hours. I added a bunch of extras to that. So there is actually a piece from one of the Thanksgivings where Cenk is talking about people being able to steal $1,000 and not face any consequences. And of course, I'm contrasting that to the several $1,000s I was out by the classifications. 20 days off was amounted to $3,460. Bonus was like $2,300. And he's sitting there saying people who steal 1,000 or less, and he's upset that they don't go to jail. So he thinks if you steal less than 1,000, you belong in prison. Different rules, though, if it's wages.
Crimes and turning them into misdemeanors is somehow justice. It's not justice.
But they do this straw man bullshit all the time about, like, oh, the left just says we're going to let out every rapist and murderer. The left says that crime, there is no crime. Left is, like, it's just this ridiculous, like, the only narratives that you're affirming and the only type of person you're appealing to are right-wingers looking for lefties, quote unquote, to, you know, appeal to their sensibilities. It's not, this is leading from how the polls are telling you, by the way, and I didn't research every poll Cenk cites.
It's the exact opposite. That's why the overwhelming majority of Democratic voters agree with me. But what we do on the Young Turks, guys.
So he thinks that, like, throwing trans people under the bus with his bullshit, instead of just advocating strongly for their positioning and for your allyship, he lets the poll dictate the policy, which is not something I think a younger Cenk Uygur would have maybe been for. But I don't have any trust that a younger Cenk Uygur was ever really being upfront about his beliefs.
And the most important part of this entire conversation is, did we not know this was going to be a debate? We did. That's why we said it in the beginning. But we have these conversations, no matter who you agree with, we air out these opinions and then you get to make up your mind. I love that Jordan and Jules passionately defend their position, and that's how we do it on the Young Turks. We'll be back.
Yeah, well, why don't you talk about your fucking union busting, you coward? Come on.
And that's how we do it on the.
Do you believe in any of this bullshit?
You get to make up your mind. I love that Jordan and Jules passionately.
Oh, we have such honest conversations. We tell everybody the truth, and we give them what they want, and then they can make up their own mind. And we have debates no matter what. We're allowed to disagree.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster.
Your workers disagreed with your employment practices, and you lied about them, and you prevented your audience from learning why the workers unionized. So this is also fucking bullshit. Okay?
Defend their position.
Pats himself on the back because he had an argument with people he could fire. Go fuck yourself. So let's see what Jordan did during the campaign, though. Jordan is actually a campaign consultant for Cenk during the union busting period. Now, I'm not trying to insinuate that I think Jordan knew or did anything to help the union busting campaign. I have no idea. I don't know any more than what you do now by looking at the screen here. So Spender was Rebellion PAC. I think that was called Cenk for Congress back in that time because it was changed. Paid to Jordan Uhl, State of Maryland. The three descriptions are campaign consultant, and consultant. Disbursement date, that means date it was paid out. The top one was April 1st, 2020 for $8,000. The next two entries are both on January 23rd, one for $1,466.67 and another for $4,000. So that's like $13,466.67. Not bad pay. I would love to know what he did. Not that he owes anybody any explanation. And I'm not trying to imply that Jordan helped do the union busting. The thing I am saying is that this is a very interesting POV. He was a campaign consultant. And what does that mean? I don't know. That could maybe just graphic design. Maybe there's a way for this to function where his consulting had literally nothing to do with the side of the campaign that had media, where he didn't have to be aware of the media operation. But I feel like Jordan does a podcast. He's like a commentator and a leftist online, that he more probably was aware of the media at the time. It seems pretty weird to be a consultant on a campaign and then pay zero attention to how it's going, which means the media, how it's being, what's happening in your media access, what interviews are you scheduling, what bookings, what's happening, who's talking about it, what messages are getting out, because isn't that the entire fucking deal with a campaign? Is it's how it interfaces with media? So I'm assuming, I'm saying it's possible he was a consultant that was so separated from anything with the campaign that he didn't have any clue that there was this other stuff going on within the campaign. In the media, I don't even mean like in the Huffington Post article or in the other stuff in these times, or the New Republic articles. Both those came out on March 5th. The Huffington Post came out on the 25th, I think. Or in the Politico article that was written on the 10th. The second election at TYT after the first card check election, which workers came forward with their union with, but which is what Cenk voluntarily refused to voluntarily recognize. I almost said voluntarily rejected, which is was on the 9th. So the second election was on the 9th. So I'm just saying here that I'd love to hear Jordan's perspective on what he witnessed as a leftist, as a guy who ostensibly cares about workers and, you know, as a union, you know, I haven't seen him talk about unions much, but I get the feeling he's probably a big union guy. I bet he probably understands labor history better than even I do. But this is a fascinating POV. Just think about it. Just think about it's okay. It's possible he never saw anything, even in terms of like the outside media. But it's also very much more plausible and possible that he had seen something. Maybe it was not something he could bring up. So maybe his only involvement was, oh, geez, that's crazy. I'm on this campaign, but whatever, I'm getting paid. It's not my job to go, you know, confronting Cenk about whatever's going on. Maybe he was involved to some degree in terms of like believing the narrative that they were going with, that IATSE and Nancy Pelosi and Christy Smith, that they had dispatched their minions to trick the Young Turks workers into forming this union. That's the narrative that they told their audience. And so perhaps he genuinely felt that that's what was happening, and it just observed it as yet another one of those things, yet another way that the establishment is trying to keep progressives from starting, from attaining any kind of office, which is a genuinely unfortunate thing that happens all the time, because that's what the Democrats, one of the few things the Democrats actually have competency at. But I'm just really curious and interested, and I wish Jordan would someday talk about this stuff, what he knew, when he knew it, and what did he think, and be upfront. And like, I'm not saying I think he did it. I would be stunned if he did. My guess is just that he probably saw that there was a union, something happening, and it wasn't his job to do anything with it at all. But how could he not have known that a union had come forward and that TYT didn't say yes to the union? Whether he was aware of the union busting, whether he saw those articles, totally plausible that maybe he didn't. But what did he see? What was it like to be in that position, and to be on a campaign? Because again, I don't know what a campaign consultant means. I mean, for all I know, they sent him does he do graphic design? I literally have no idea what he does. I'm just saying, like, it's plausible his deal was, do you think this is a good email? Should we, like, maybe he just like offered up some writing assistance, because you can get these kinds of jobs that are, you know, or maybe he was actually on the ground running around chasing voters or doing some sort of research for getting on the ballots in all these different states. There's a lot of complex stuff that has to happen. Wait a minute. That's the presidential stuff campaign. That wouldn't be that what it is. Yeah, but maybe he was on the ground somehow with other modes that didn't connect with any of the media stuff. Seems possible, but also I just think that there's no way he couldn't have had some sense that something was going on. And even if he did believe that it was a attack by Christy Smith and by Pelosi and by the minions, and that it was a bad faith, suspicious, no good ploy by the establishment, which is the narrative that Cenk and Anna put out, I want to hear that he believed that. That's okay. I'm not doing this to say like, oh, fuck you, you should have known the actual answers. The point is that Cenk was lying to people. Cenk was not telling the truth. Cenk had every incentive to avoid telling the truth in order to avoid having to answer the question, why did your workers unionize? That's all it's about, is he didn't want people to find out that the guy uses classification to have people working full-time for him and not give them benefits. That he has full-time, someone working full-time at his company who he calls part-time, who's working 40-hour weeks, and that the workers unionized in part, as well as just the generalized disrespect that's common within that company, plus other reasons. You know, some people, everybody had their own specific reasons, but I know for a fact that they didn't like that what was happening in my case. And that's the shit that Cenk would prefer and went out of his way to avoid telling anybody. So I'm just so intrigued by it because I think Jordan is a good guy. I get a sense that he has integrity, that he has good heartfelt leftist beliefs and would want to. Maybe this is a chapter of his life he'd rather not air out publicly, but do you believe do you care about your beliefs or not? Did you see a guy doing union busting and now that you know he was lying? And you got to see it from a very strange perspective. I don't believe at all. It seems incredibly unlikely, although it is possible, but it just seems really unlikely that he was like sitting in like strategy meetings to decide how to do the union busting. I doubt that was the case. That seems incredibly unlikely, but it's such a fascinating thing to be this close to it. Similar to me. Like I'm saying, like I had this really crazy perch, this wild perspective from which to see this entire thing go down. And I'm close to the story too. And there's an emotional component to it as well that I'd love to learn what he has to say. So hopefully someday Jordan's able to come forward and talk about his experience being a consultant on a campaign that did union busting as part of its political campaign. I mean, come on. How are you not interested in telling that story? Other than the fact that maybe you don't think it's interesting and not worthy of your listeners' attention. Or, perhaps that's the case. Or maybe, if you work for a guy who will not take kindly to you being honest about what happened, there might be consequences if you did actually look into it. So hopefully that's not what it is, but who knows? We'll see. We probably won't see. So let's just do the next one. I'm going to kind of burn through these since I'm actually getting sick of myself. All right, so then this is shortly after that moment we just watched where Cenk pats himself on the back for allowing people he could fire to talk to him about a topic about which he claims expertise because he knows what's better for the trans world than anybody else. A Wharton Business School graduate, former corporate lawyer who wrote essays about how there's so many boobies it's like there's a different story that we're probably going to get into in a different episode. It's just I don't have time for it this time. But he's twice mentioned. I'll just give you a little preview. Is that he's mentioned being canceled from the Justice Democrats back in 2017 due to his past sexist writings. But he's brought that up voluntarily, which is it's usually not a topic he seems to want to talk about. And I think it fits in with their sort of new positioning of like reactionary. We're on the left, but we're not like those crazy activist lefties. We're not like those extreme lefties. So they're really like he and Anna have been sculpting themselves a posture within it, and then people are perceiving it as a drift to the right, more than a drift. And I wouldn't even say perceiving to imply that that's incorrect, but I think the important part of it is that it's not so much that they have to go really far right. It's just that they have to contrast themselves against what they want to label as the extremists. It's very like boilerplate. This is how we make ourselves look valid, is by judging the people who are actually trying to do things and make changes, because they can't shift towards labor in a way that's credible. All they can do is look for a term that captures something that they can then appeal to right-wingers with, and that word that he's come up with is populist, which has its own kind of mixed bag sort of history. But anyway, so this debate is somewhat relevant, the stuff I've been saying, somewhat relevant to like the path that the Democratic Party and that the left has to move in order to pull out of this tailspin. But he takes some questions from the audience, and then we get into talking about the Vanguard a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? Last thing here. Sage and Candle said, outside of the Vanguard's attacks, you really need to be more clear about the left. It sounds like you're attacking your viewers and you lump people in. Thank you for writing that in, because I do want to clarify it. Look, I don't care about...
He's not attacking the viewers. He would attack his own workers. He'd definitely like smear the integrity of his workers publicly, but he wants to be careful not to seem like he's attacking the viewers. Backing up a little bit.
Look, I don't care about Silly and Billy or whoever they are, right? But it's not just one group.
It was referring to Vanguard, Zach and Gavin. Their names are Zach and Gavin, James. Cenk, whatever your name is.
I get it. They literally do a gossip channel, and they think that they're leftist or something. They never talk about policy. They just talk about gossip the whole time.
Not true. Nope. You should see the video I did with them. We talk about lots of policies. We talk about your policies, your employment policies. It is funny that he has this kind of like bubbling rage about the Vanguard. It makes me think I don't know if he has the time to watch the one I did, the Vanguard episode I was on, or a lot. I mean, who knows how much of it he sees. It's possible. I have no idea. It's hard to say that Cenk watches all my shit. He might, maybe, at certain moments he can't get enough of it, realizes how great a voice I have.
From what I could tell, but it doesn't matter. It's not about them. It's whenever we say anything that is 1% outside of orthodoxy, what you're not seeing, and thank you for asking for the clarification, is like dozens of online shows go, oh yes, we're gonna get into the Young Turks algorithm feed. Yes, we're gonna attack them and make money. And as they say, they go, subscribe. Oh yeah, the Young Turks are the worst. We're the best, we're the
Wait, he's calling someone out for telling their audience to subscribe? Backing it up a little bit here.
Subscribe. Oh yeah, the Young Turks are the
really?
worst.
This guy, his whole thing is relentless begging for money from his audience.
We're the best, we're the true leftists, we're the purest. They disagree 2%. Anyone who disagrees 2% is a Nazi, et cetera, et cetera. So like everybody calls each other grifters. I'm super tired of it. But most important thing is, the reason why I'm saying the majority of Democratic voters agree with me is because we're not attacking the left. We're not attacking Democrats.
You attacked your own workers. You attacked regular ass working people that were just trying to get a slightly better life. I would have been happy if I got my pay bumped up from $21.63 to $21.77. That would have been a nice change in my life. We're not attacking
the left. We're not attacking Democrats.
No, but you attack employees. I would have been thrilled if I could have made $24 an hour in a pay bump from having to unionize in order to get health insurance at your shitty company.
We've been representing these folks for the entire 22 years. Nobody's fought for the left and Democrats more than us.
Do I have to say it again?
Just because you're 13 years old and you think, you disagree with some orthodoxy you made up that no one voted on, and the Democratic voters and the left doesn't actually agree with you on, doesn't mean that we're attacking the left. And the one thing I need help with is, what do I call these folks?
So here's the thing this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Like one of the words that they've been using a lot is identitarian left. I haven't looked super deep. I did look for it on Reddit. So you can feel free to judge me for not like, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert on it, but like apparently there's sort of two modes for that word. Originally it was kind of like I think it originated in Europe as sort of like a subculture movement about white identity, and they would call themselves the identitarians. And that happened a while ago. And then in more recent times, though, it's become a term that is sort of a evolution of identity politics sort of thing in order to like label the left. So the right uses it as a way of saying it defangs the original kind of framing or the original sort of sourcing of it being like a white power sort of like thing. Again, I could be like, I should look into a little bit closer. But then it gives them a word to attach to the left in order to say like people that care about identity politics. Essentially it's just a longer way of saying the word woke. The identitarian left. And I've been hearing him say that a bunch in this last month or two, following Anna's lead as she's sort of like leaning towards that quote unquote enlightened centrism.
I don't want to insult them, but I don't want people thinking that I'm against the left. I think they're against the great majority of the left. They're just pretending to be the.
So the Vanguard he means when he says there, that's not, what is he talking about? That they're against the majority of the left. Again, this guy's a union buster. This guy uses classification to deny workers benefits. And he sits around and acts like he knows what's good for people and what the left needs to do.
The most.
He lied to his audience.
Pure and hence the representatives of the left. But the polling shows that the great majority of Democrats do not agree with them. So they definitely don't represent the left.
You should definitely abandon marginalized people because the polling shows that it's looks like it's against them. Definitely don't stand on your principles or on any kind of convictions and just let the polls dictate wherever you go. I don't think there's necessarily a lack of like I get where someone's coming from in terms of like it's what's practical. If only the Democrats would put on suits and ties, and then more people would take them seriously.
Definitely. So you guys tell me. I call them extreme leftists. I call them leftists. I don't know what to call them. What?
You got to find a word that'll appeal to centrists and right wingers. That's the tricky puzzle he's trying to solve with what do I call the left? Because he doesn't want to abandon saying he's on the left, but he wants to set it up so that he can contrast himself to those wackos that are really on the left, the ones that start unions, the ones that want health insurance for full-time work, the ones who want to protect marginalized groups and let them and trust them and allow them to feel safe in this world.
What do they call themselves? I mean, so if they're claiming they're the left, that is hilarious and not within any stretch of the imagination and not according to any poll or any other data. So you pick whatever title you like and I'll call you that. Fringe left, extreme left, radical left, leftist, bozos, whatever you want.
Bozos.
But I'm not.
We want the bozo left.
I'm not going to say you're the left because you're not even close to the left. Young Turks.
So the union busting left is now policing what people are allowed to call left.
But I'm not going to say you're the left because you're not even close to the left.
Nope, they're not close to the left. Nope, not Silly and Billy over there on the Vanguard. that's rapidly gathering a nice audience of people who are very engaged in their content and want to hear their opinions. Definitely not the left. This whole conversation is honestly so stupid. The calling, like labeling these terms. That's all very online brain shit. I mean, I'm trapped in
Young
it too.
Turks.
Fast forward here.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Jordan, and Jules. Jordan, next story.
We're on break.
Oh, we're on social? Oh, bruh.
We shook him, Jules. We shook
Bruh?
him.
Who talks like that? What the fuck? It's bro.
Because we just did comments for 3 segments in a row. That's why. All right. Anyways, so good news. More of your comments. Okay. Ozzy Carr writes in on Super Chat. Cenk, I think you're confusing the far left for a conservative pretending to be a far left. Look, guys. Again,
Or a conservative pretending to be a progressive.
I don't want to keep getting into the same thing. But
Get
if
into
I
it.
was a Republican, I would plant shows like.
We're backing up here. This is interesting.
But if I was a Republican, I would plant shows like Vanguard or whoever the hell they are. And
I like that he has to act like he doesn't know their name. I really find that so annoying. Just say their fucking name. Don't be a little bitch. That's the same thing that people do when they mispronounce someone's name on purpose. People do that all the time with Cenk. Cenk, junk, chunk yogurt. You get a lot of those. Just say their fucking name. Show some respect to your audience.
Vanguard or whoever the hell they are, and the Bozo 1 and Bozo 2, right? So I would plant them, and I would say, oh, now what you should do is you should tell everyone on your side that if they don't agree with the single most extreme position, that they're all Nazis. So you alienate and start a giant war within Democrats and a giant war within the left and divide each other.
Yes, the Vanguard has that power. 58,000 YouTube subscribers. 2 guys from Kansas City spewing their lefty stuff who were longtime fans of TYT. I think Gavin, that's the long-haired hippie. He was more into TYT more than Zach was. But these are two, like, they do know stuff that I'm like, how the fuck, like, aren't they too young? Like, but then they've told stories of like they were like 5th graders talking about politics and stuff. So are they as academically up to speed on all the stuff? No, of course not. Neither am I. Neither are a lot of Americans. I think that's why they have an appeal. But they're able to like break these topics down, and have interesting conversations and stuff. And I think Cenk is, I mean, I'm not saying that this is a rivalry per se, but I would much rather take some advice from Zach or Gavin than this guy. You kidding me?
And profit off of it. That'll be great. And then,
so he's saying that they're useful to the right, that they're being that if he was a Republican, he would plant the Vanguard
and divide each other,
because they can divide us and then also make money What the fuck has TYT done for the progressive movement? You guys produced right-wingers as if it's someone fed Mogwai after midnight. You got Jimmy Dore, you got Dave Rubin. Anna's veering straight towards the center. I think she's going to hold on to some leftist nuance, but that's important. That's a big way to maintain that usefulness. You can't just go all the way. Cenk is clearly doing it as well, affirming right-wing narratives, union busting. Gavin made the point, which I played on a couple episodes back, about how much Cenk's union busting actually contributed to the right-wing narrative that unions don't work and that you can't do unions. It is very damaging to the labor movement. If you're a plant, do you think you'd pick, I don't know, maybe like a guy who went to Columbia Law School, went to Wharton School for Vampires, the same fancy lad finishing academy that Elon Musk went to, that Donald Trump went to? Go to the Wharton School of Business and scroll. This is in the film. Scroll the list of CEOs. There's just a big list of ghouls. I don't know. Maybe then you get like funding from right wingers, Buddy Roemer to start out with, and then maybe some other like Republican billionaire types that are Democrat partisans for Hillary, the Katzenberg group and the other ones. There was multiple outfits that were kind of linked together with that. What good for the left has TYT done? I could answer that. I think that they've provided media training or media access to a lot of candidates over the years that wouldn't have otherwise gotten it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's also a good outlet for finding some kind of talent to come up with. I'm not sure I'm impressed with Cenk's selection so far. Emma Vigeland coming out of TYT through Rebel HQ way back in the day. I think that TYT has actually also helped pull people from their sort of center or just sort of liberal brain towards some ideas of progressivism. I'm not saying it's a total wash, but the idea that like Zach and Gavin is literally as much of a plant as like some kind of operation to destroy the left because of whatever straw manning kind of conception he's coming up with. It's nonsense. It's just straight up fucking nonsense.
And profit off of it, that'll be great. And then make it seem like all of the left isn't Medicare for all, isn't all of your popular positions.
Cenk doesn't provide health insurance to people who work for him full time. He'll use classification to avoid that.
Medicare for all.
So he's not even for Medicare for all his workers. So give me a fucking break.
Isn't all of your popular positions, it's only the most extreme position. Like, you know what? One day maybe if we ever get enough power, wealth, whatever it is that the bad guys have.
Dude, keep begging Elon Musk to buy MSNBC and put you in charge. That'll do nicely for you.
I'll try it with the Republicans. I'll go to their most extreme position, and I bet there's guys who would defend the most extreme position. And because it's almost a false flag operation. It isn't, but it almost feels like it. They have in my opinion, they have no idea how much they're helping the Republicans.
It's total projection.
I don't know a single Republican who isn't like, yes, these leftists, they're like manna from heaven. They're driving away all of these normies away from the Democratic Party, away from the left, and they're getting them confused and thinking that Medicare for all is unpopular. How did we get this lucky?
Where is that coming from? That doesn't, what? I don't even know how much that topic comes up on Vanguard. I mean, they're for Medicare for all. They're for single universal health care. Like, where would that come from?
Them confused and thinking
that I don't know how you could end up confused about Medicare for all because you watch. This is just, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
How did we get this lucky? Because they're saying this is the progressive position. Okay, anyway.
I'm such a broken record. It's just so amazing that he's calling someone out for what he calls faux, he's doing the air quotes for faux progressivism. Cenk is a union busting capitalist who lied to his audience about why his workers organized so that they wouldn't learn his abusive employment practices. And he's the one who's policing people on whether they're progressive enough or not, or too progressive anyway. Too extreme. They've got the extreme that's pissing off the Republicans. This is ridiculous.
Okay, anyway. Woman AF says, hey boys, I've heard a lot of conservative leaning independents believing that she was pushing for taxpayer funded surgery for trans illegal immigrants. That message got through hard, sure or not. but by the way, it was true. That's not her position anymore, but that was her position. The Flying Hambone wrote in, 40% of Americans hold crypto, would love TYT to point out the good ones in the space like Charles Hoskinson. I hate that Trump is going to be leading this. Look, I don't know much about crypto to begin with, but.
Okay, crypto, yeah. So he's been on Twitter trying to get Elon's attention, and Elon asked him, he's offering to, I don't know why I was going to I marked this to talk about it, but he's trying to get Elon to give him some attention for how to get rid of or how to cut the military budget, and it's just this nonsense. And then, yeah, what I referred to earlier was Cenk had some tweets saying, like, what if the Young Turks owned MSNBC? And this is after Elon had patted him on the head. And you could just tell he's like clearly trying to indicate that, he would be an adequate manager of MSNBC if the world's wealthiest man to ever exist bought him his own news company. That's not what he said outright, but that's the implication that I read into it. So okay, well, there you go. Good job. Not
no.
Oh yeah, so I was just I just got some other stuff here that we're just going to kind of just burn through really fast. This is another social break question. Anna says some stuff here that I'm going to respond to. Nothing too drastic, but.
Art Guy says TYT taking another well-deserved victory lap, and I'm here for it. Thank you, appreciate it. K-Dragon Battling for Truth and Justice wrote this in before the last segment, said, I hate the fact that Cenk and Anna are always having to defend what they have said on the show. I can't remember anything they've said that didn't come to pass, for the most part, exactly as they said. The extreme left is most culpable in this from what I have seen.
Can I just say one thing real quick to our audience? I hope you guys know, and maybe it doesn't come through, but I respect you guys deeply. And I respect you so much that, as Cenk said, I am really hard on myself because I want to make sure I get you guys accurate information, and I want to make sure that my analysis is on point, even though I might get things wrong, right? But I'm never gonna say something spicy on the show that doesn't have evidence behind it. I show my receipts for a reason, and I tell you the truth because I respect you. I would never lie to you. I think people who do lie to their audiences don't respect their audiences at all.
A couple of folks.
Cenk says I can think of a couple of folks.
At all. A couple of folks. Okay, Semper Fire.
All right.
I would never lie to you. I think people who do lie to their audiences don't respect their audiences.
That's true. A worker from the TYT company is making a documentary called Tell the Truth, Cenk, about lies that Cenk and Anna spread about their own workers. We'll go real quick over here. This is the part of the my post, baldontheinside.substack.com, titled 2 Versions, 1 Truth, Evidence for My Claims About the Young Turks. Start with the 4 articles. That's a great starting point if you're curious. That's good place to go. That's not me for information, but here's TYT's version. I tried to be very fair and plain with how I presented this stuff. They put out this narrative that the union originated as a ploy to harm Cenk's campaign. And here's how Anna participated in this. She retweeted Cenk's tweet, and she wrote here, as an employee of TYT who is not part of management and not involved in the business side, I'm the EP of the main show, meaning I have editorial say. I feel extremely uncomfortable with IATSE's endorsement of Cenk's congressional opponent who does not share our progressive values. This was signal boosting, union busting by Cenk. She then wrote, while I'm personally supportive of unions, this feels like it's done in bad faith. The fact that this all blew up on the day of Cenk's debate is also extremely suspicious, suggesting that the debate that was going to happen that night, this candidate forum at the CSUN, California State University, so I think that's what it is, sorry, that it was going to, the union busting was going to be brought up to confront Cenk, and that would be the fulfillment of this plot or some sort. That's what, like, oh, they brought it up on the day of the forum. That means they're going to try to use it to cudgel him. They didn't bring it up. They didn't bring it up at all. I wish they had. I think it would have been interesting. So she says she's personally supportive of unions, which means, however, this one she's not supportive of. She wasn't supportive of the union at the company, of people that she's known for years, people whose labor and talent and time were the foundation for her wealth and her success. And she didn't do any fact checking. She never checked with me, and she didn't. I checked with other of my sources, and as far as I've been able to assess, nobody checked with anybody who had actually started the union about when it actually started. They didn't stop to look up to confirm the most confirmable story in journalism history, where all you had to do was talk to people that were 20 feet away or send me a DM, and you would have known the truth before this lie got told. That might have put you in an awkward position, you know? I don't know. I think that Anna was under tremendous scrutiny and taking a ton of incoming fire as her prominent role in this campaign. She had to do those pretend interviews with her boss, acting like she's inviting him onto the show, saying, "Welcome to the show, candidate Cenk Uygur." There's a sequence in the film that's about that kind of shows that. I think that she was loyal to Cenk, and I think she trusted her source. That's where I'm coming down on this. I don't think necessarily she wanted to set out to harm people at her company, but she trusted someone that took advantage of her loyalty. Here's a tweet from her at the time that said, "This is completely wrong," this tweet. She says, "The only thing I can say as a worker, me and several of my colleagues knew nothing about this union until this week. That's because we kept it secret, because we were afraid that Cenk would retaliate against us for starting a union at his company, which we were correct to have done because he withheld raises and bonuses. He smeared workers publicly. He fired a unionizing worker. He did do retaliation during the union busting as a candidate for Congress." So we did it in secret because we knew Cenk. People, if anybody knows someone, it's their employees. You know what I mean? Like whatever some fan out there thinks how well they know Cenk, believe me, the fucking video editors know the guy far better than anybody else. Especially the video editors, because you're just like marinating in everything they say over and over and over. Not that you do it every single clip or something, but employees of a place know who their boss is, right? So to continue her tweet, I have this highlighted in yellow. They claim they're representing the will of the majority of TYT employees, including producers. That claim was never made. I don't know where she got that information. Literally impossible. IATSE doesn't represent producers. IATSE represents stage, post crew, and stage crew. So video editors, tech, just as Cenk said here, editors, graphics, and studio technicians. So she spread it. So this is a reply to somebody. It's not like this got out 5 retweets, 65 likes. Not like this. This is like a major plank of it. But clearly she was getting information from somewhere that was not giving her accurate information at all. So for her to come on air and say stuff like this.
Because I want to make sure I get you guys accurate information, and I want to make sure that my analysis is on point, even though I might get things wrong, right? But I'm never gonna say something spicy on the show that doesn't have evidence behind it. I show my receipts.
But to be fair, she didn't, those were tweets. She didn't say it on the show. I don't know if she's ever spoken about it on TYT. She talked about it, I almost said spoked. She talked about it on the Nomiki Konst show a good bit. I've played it in a couple of previous episodes. That's a fascinating part where she brings up the union busting and talks about it, and sort of she air quotes the phrase union busting.
It turned into a union busting story.
And then kind of lectures the left for going, some people had gone with the story without checking with her and Cenk about what happened first.
But the problem that I had with the way that story played out and how it was perceived by people in indie media is that immediately, like, virtue signaling is real. It is real. And so immediately there were few people from indie journalism that I love and I have great respect for who felt the need to condemn Cenk publicly, right? Because it's the brand play, you know? Oh, I got to make sure that my brand among my leftist audience is squeaky clean. So that means immediately, without asking any questions, without looking into the story, I'm going to go ahead and condemn Cenk as a union buster. And that really infuriated me because, hey, how about hit him up? How about call me? How about ask a question or two?
Ask a question, that's right. That's it.
Right. Instead of like, really, you're going to believe the New York Times or CNN or whoever, like the same or media outlets that we're so critical of, you're going to trust them before you go ahead and ask someone you know personally a question or two before, you know, if you want to make a statement publicly, have at it. But like, that was the most painful part, right? And it was very isolating to go through that and see that happen.
Which really bothers me because it's like that's like the whole point of a major point of this whole project is about agency. I needed to take my own agency back because I felt very powerless working for Cenk as an independent contractor when I first decided I wanted to wake up the union drive, because the union had already started a year before. So 18 months before he became a congressperson or became a candidate. So there was stuff going on that needed to be addressed. And I used my agency because I felt so powerless that I needed to do something about it to try to wake up the union. And then it actually worked. I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but I knew I had to try. Then my classification gets changed to part-time while working for 40-hour weeks. Then Cenk becomes a congressman 5 or 6 months later in November. I keep saying congressman, I mean a candidate, a politician. And as part of his union busting while running for Congress, he's doing union busting, including lying about people, which Anna helped him do that. And so there's partly what this whole project is about agency. I'm using my agency to tell my story. And I'm hoping I'm honoring the story of the other workers too, because they're never going to be, it's not like every worker from the union is going to make a documentary describing what happened. So
for a reason, and I tell you the truth because I respect you.
And she said she had evidence. So yeah, that's right. So there was no evidence for those tweets. The thing they would point to is that IATSE had endorsed Christy Smith during that campaign. But that still means that it doesn't change the fact that the workers at TYT deserve better working conditions and had a right to collectively organize to try to get them. What does it got to do with anything? You know, IATSE having political connections, I don't like that at all either. I wish unions didn't do that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world. It's going to be a long time before we do. We need stronger unions getting involved in more political activities, actually, until we can even get there. But that should have been, that might have been enough for suspicion. In other words, to say, well, wait a minute, we got to be very clear here. But it doesn't mean the next step after that should have been fact checking. Just because IATSE had endorsed Smith doesn't mean that makes that your hunch and that Cenk's narrative was absolutely true at all. It should have at least provoked you to go and then do some fact checking with the people who were in the union, or myself, because I had been fired, I'd been laid off, so I was available to talk. In which case, let's say if their version was true, a fact check conversation would have been like, "Hey, Hank, when did you guys start the union?" And I would have said, "Well, actually, it was like within a week after Cenk became a candidate, somebody got in touch with us and then wanted to have meetings and wanted us to unionize." Because we had our first meeting that same week, actually. We had scheduled it before, but our first meeting was that same week that Cenk became a candidate. So if she fact-checked it and their version was true, and I said, yeah, it was really weird. Like we had never done any unionizing until Cenk became, our boss Cenk became a candidate. And then and then we had meetings within like 3 days of him filing his paperwork to be a candidate. And that's why we started the union, was because some strangers contacted me and like that would have at least affirmed their narrative. And even if that is what happened, we still deserved our union. Still shouldn't have union busted it. But that's not it. And by the way, the only way that works is that they start the union with the bet that the workers, that Cenk would reject it. The only way you can the only way for this plot, for the teeth of this bear trap to close properly, is if the fucking idiot says no to the union, which is an outrageous thing you'd predict. Nowadays, you wouldn't predict that. So it's just completely silly that like, as shaky as that is, it's not enough to stand on. Should have done some fact checking before helping Cenk smear all the other workers, the workers at the company.
I would never lie to you. I think people who do lie to their audiences don't respect their audiences.
Yep. Smash cut. Hansi asking Cenk if he's a union buster. No, I'm definitely not a union buster.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster.
That's a lie. Doesn't respect his audience. Confirmed. All right. Okay. So we're gonna skip the Tim Pool thing. I don't have the energy to do that today. It's Sam Cedar, Tim Pool. That's just too much for this. But we have a few more clips from TYT here. This is just from like this around the same time. I just had these in my folder, and I was just in, so let's just play this, and we're gonna get into some healthcare stuff here. I might cut this a little bit, but let's just hit play and go.
You have Kamala Harris starting out her campaign strong with talk of dealing with the housing crisis, talk of taking these corporate price gougers to task. That's not going to work out so well for these vendors who, again, have clients or represent clients who are not going to like that message. And so it totally makes sense now why Kamala Harris made that pivot in the middle of her very short 3-month campaign.
Yes, and also she has no backbone, no principles. She's just a corporate robot. And so that's another huge part of the reason why.
One more
people with no backbone and no principles should be called out, though, shouldn't they, Cenk?
thing, Cenk, because Bully Pulpit Media, they were paid $760,000 back in 2018 to squash efforts to create a universal healthcare system.
See, guys, that's another thing that we kept saying, and then everybody in the Democratic Party kept yelling at us, shut up, shut up. Okay, because they were bothered by the fact that we were telling you things that are true and deeply problematic within the Democratic Party. So remember that famous line with Nancy Pelosi saying, oh, I have a universal health care poster in my basement from the 1960s where she buried it, right? And then we told you guys all of her staffers used to work for either drug companies or health insurance companies. Some of the drug
So Pelosi had staffers that worked for drug companies and health insurance companies.
Staffers used to work for either drug companies or health insurance companies. Some of them left in the middle of that to go work for drug companies and health insurance companies. The guys who make their ads are from the same companies, so they're fighting against universal health care. So when Kamala Harris,
so people that are against the concept of universal health care are in and out of these organizations as he's describing.
And Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi tell you, oh, we're for universal health care. And then they go behind the scenes and hire the guys who are against universal health care.
Imagine behind the scenes people against universal health care. That says a lot.
That's how you know they're full of crap.
Full of crap. Here's the guy who runs TYT, Jack Gerard. This is his LinkedIn. It was public when I got this information. It's in the documentary. Jack is a former health insurance executive. Now, to be fair, maybe he had a guilty conscience, and it maybe his work at the Young Turks is in some ways maybe about him trying to make up for all the countless lives he's immiserated and ruined as a successful health insurance guy. But here's his work. We gotta move this out of the way first here. Hang on a second. Let's move things up. We'll get that over there. How about that? That's pretty fun. And then this one below is, we'll just scroll it up. Let's go bigger. So here's Jack's resume, or this is the companies he's worked at. TYT, 8 years, 8 months. This is a couple years old. He's been there a good while. And maybe this is all about him trying to make amends for all the, all the harm that he caused. Because you really can't really be a health insurance executive without being like the villain in the lives of millions of your customers. The whole thing works on you not providing health care and on creating roadblocks to people getting payouts that they deserve and all this and that. And I don't know exactly what Jack did, but we just heard Cenk say
they go behind the scenes and hire the guys who are against universal health care. That's how you know they're full of crap.
That's how you know that the Kamala Harris was full of crap. And meanwhile, at TYT, look where he worked before TYT, Kaiser Permanente. Promoted to lead team on 12 on national insurance product strategies for a $1.4 billion portfolio. Lots of money. Lots of big, giant piles of money. That's all stress money. That's all money people had to go to extra work for. They had less leverage. Their job was attached to, the healthcare was linked to their work somewhere. Or perhaps it's money that flows through their Affordable Care, because it looks like he had to deal with Affordable Care Act stuff. These are very complicated. That's one of the reasons why American healthcare is so expensive too, is all this fucking private bureaucracy. This is privatized government, essentially. So you have people like Jack who are good at it, and who, this guy is the one who introduced like TYT doing like, some corporatization structural stuff, which I think is actually healthy. I don't think it's necessarily bad. any growing organization is going to, you know, as the numbers get higher, you're going to need a bit more expertise in that sense. Before that, before Kaiser Permanente, Jack worked for Blue Shield of California. Promoted to lead team on 12 on product management, product marketing, and sales for $130 million ancillary product portfolio, serving 900,000 policyholders. Dental, vision, life, short-term health, stop loss. Accountable for sales, membership, revenue, operating income, and the development and launch of new products. Consistently exceeded growth, margin, and service metrics for multiple products and segments, so he did a good job. Enhanced broker relationships via extensive collaboration on brokerage. So he is a former health insurance executive guy. He had some other previous experience as well. Does this logic apply to TYT, or is this only political organizations? Does having a guy, can we assume Jack is for Medicare for all? Now, I know he had a lot to do with my employment situation. Remember, I worked there full time as a video editor under 2 classifications where I didn't get health insurance. So the theory that Jack is trying to make amends for the way his career devastated the lives of people, and, you know, certainly contributed to the stress and to the deaths of people, early death, because that's what a health insurance executive does, or else they're not going to have that job. The theory that it's some sort of amends making kind of falls apart when you understand that they also use practices at their company that had to, that the workers had to start a union in order to try to stop, to you know, be able to get health insurance for everybody who's working full time. So does this hold water, Cenk?
Biden and Nancy Pelosi tell you, oh, we're for universal health care. And then they go behind the scenes and hire the guys who are against universal health care. That's how you know they're full of crap.
Pretty strong sign you're full of crap, isn't it? Isn't it? It's like, do they believe anything there?
So stop listening to these establishment Democrats who do not have your best interests in mind. They have their best interests in mind, and they get maximum money from these corporations and sell us out. Choose a true populace. We had our chance with Bernie in 2016 and 2020. We need to find the new Bernie and support that person, and do not listen to these crooks ever again. And last thing on this, I think that it was not in the Sludge article, but it's a fact that I often point out that's very relevant to this. Remember, all these companies get 15% of what they spend. I keep asking why.
He's talking about the consultants that place ads. They get like a huge bite. So if you spend 100 million on TV ads, you walk away with 15 million. That I agree. That is shitty stuff. So final clip, because I want to be done. Okay, so we've been talking about TYT a decent amount here. You guys have all heard the union stuff. You're probably getting sick of it. I don't blame you. Like and subscribe. Thanks for supporting the project. We are going to reach a lot more people. And the Young Turks union situation was really weird and unique and novel, because the guy was running for Congress. Now, we had started unionizing long before, but he becomes a politician in the middle of our organizing. And so, of course, we're like, wow, that's kind of nuts. We're going to have to deal with it. This changes some of the factors, but we still want better representation at our workplace. We still want to have collective bargaining to, you know, try to get a voice in our workplace, and to maybe some pay raises and some other protections. And also, one of our guys isn't classified as a. By the time the union came forward, I had gotten to. Or sorry, not came forward. But by the time of November, I did get health insurance through the 3rd classification, which was still not full parity with the rest of the employees. But I did finally reach a classification for the exact same job 12 months after I started, where I did get health insurance, just to be technically accurate about that. But when we started organizing, the major reason was because we all agreed that I should have health care, and that I should get paid for a day off and get full bonus participation. So anyway, the union comes forward, they bust it, they lie about their workers to their audience, they publicly attack the workers' integrity, which is just insane. And he's never been called out for it. Only our friend Hansi has ever actually, during the call-in thing, and actually challenged him about it, which he immediately lied and then panic hangs up about it. So he's clearly hiding something. And obviously, Cenk knows about my project, and I'm sure he wishes I wasn't doing this. I I honestly agree. I wish I wasn't doing this as well. I didn't choose to do this. I didn't set this in motion. Someone else did. It wasn't fucking me. I was trying to make woodworking videos, for fuck's sake. Anyway, they have an audience, and they did a good job memory holing it, and they never covered it on their own show. They never covered his NLRB cases, their use of anti-worker law firms, the union busting itself, the articles that were written, or just properly told the workers' story. They wouldn't represent their workers' story to their own audience. They had to take that agency away from them in order to do damage control and manage their own perceptions of the audience so that they wouldn't lose reputational damage because of the employment practices that drove us to unionize. So people, though, look to them as some kind of example and some sort of model. And let's listen to this comment.
And Bimbo says, Anna, we the primary care docs at MGH and BWH in Boston just filed with the NLRB for union election. Thank you for inspiring me to see unionization as a powerful, hopeful endeavor.
Oh
my dream is that healthcare unions grow strong and force our...
If they hit that, it's a hard cut. They have to stop. It's not their fault. All right, so listen to this. We're going to get back to this next chunk after this, but like she's excited. This tone of voice from Anna and Cenk, they're going to really have a nice pat on the back for themselves.
Powerful, hopeful endeavor. My dream is that...
Oh my gosh, like she's so flattered. She had none of that energy for the people at her own company where she works. She's again, not management. She's a very prominent, pretty unique station. She has an agent, which is a private union anyway. I'm not sure if she still does. I assume so. I sat next to her agent at the Michael Brooks show in LA, by the way. He and I kind of buddied up a little bit. Not that we were like besties or something, but we sat next to each other and we chatted a little bit. He was just nice. He was just like a regular guy, nice guy. So I'm not knocking on that. But they're being flattered for inspiring people to unionize. Great. I'm actually good. I'm glad for anybody's trying to improve their workplace conditions. But it just kills me that they're giving credit to two people that participated in union busting. Anna through a support role and Cenk through an aggressive union buster.
That healthcare unions grow strong and force our... Cenk and Anna with you guys. I was just reading a super chat during the break from Elsa and Bibo, and she wrote this wonderful thing thanking Anna for helping inspire her to do unionization efforts, which just paid off. I love that. I just wanted to give her the credit of reading her the last line, which got cut off.
You made my day. Thank you for writing it, but go ahead, Cenk.
She said, my dream is that healthcare unions grow strong and force our broken system to change.
Yes, agreed. Man, do we need that? And unions are a possible way of doing that. If only we didn't have like a prominent progressive outlet validating anti-union labor or anti-union, anti-labor narratives as they did with their own very public union busting that happened in 2020.
Love it, Elsa. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want for our audience. You are the cavalry.
Yes.
Right? Take things into your own hands.
That's exactly what I did. I was in a work situation where I couldn't see a doctor. He was my boss. And I couldn't afford to go to see a fucking doctor. I had to save up to buy goddamn shoes. I didn't have a difficult time, but prior to that, I had some rent debt. I was paying things off. Not that he's responsible for me, but I was barely making any money. Living in LA, no health insurance, paying more taxes than everybody else because when you're an independent contractor, you have to take on even more of a tax burden because as an employee status, they pay half the payroll tax. So I had to pay more in taxes, less per hour than everybody else. No bonus participation, no paid days off, amounting to vacation and holiday pay, amounting to 20 total days off, amounting to $3,460 over those 12 months. And I took matters into my own hands. I decided to wake up the union drive that had been, I didn't squash it, that's not the right word, but it got frozen. The workers backed off a year prior because a round of firings went down. And he's praising people for doing exactly the thing that he was so enraged and so furious and so upset about them doing at his own company because it would have looked bad on him. Backed up a little bit.
Exactly what we want. For our audience, you are the cavalry.
Yes.
Right? Take things into your own hands.
We asked our boss for help, and he said, fuck you. You don't deserve help. Him. That's what a union drive is. especially if you think about like a company, smaller company at this place where you know the boss. It's centered around like a political advocacy, allegedly around a kind of a political posture, you know, around progressivism, a place that calls itself the home of progressives. And the workers of him said, hey, we need help. We're hurting. And his answer was to hurt them more, to subjugate them into not having democracy. That was his answer. They hired 2 union-busting law firms. 2 NLRB cases came out of it. One for withholding raises and bonuses, and the other for the coercive meetings and for firing a guy. It just fucking stuns me, man, that they get to get complimented for inspiring people to unionize and then pat themselves on the back for doing that.
Not in the way that the...
And also what's so stupid about it, when I call Cenk, you know, when I talk about how utterly world-class, world historic stupid it was to say no to the union. So I expressed befuddled amazement at the managerial incompetence on display. Worker interests aside, principles aside, the lack of market awareness at how utterly reckless and irresponsible labeling yourself a union buster would be for a brand built on selling progressive principles was stunning. Or how an aggressive union busting campaign in which you publicly smear your employees might not score well in a congressional race based on the message that you're a fighter for the little guy. This buffoonery should be taught in business academies and bozo barns around the world. We needed this union for all kinds of reasons, but as the anonymous staffers who feared retaliation told Politico, centering his political ambitions in the union drive spoke quite clearly as to why a union was desperately needed. And Cenk should be embarrassed that the union was not his idea. Yay! The Politico and New Republic articles explained that, despite what Cenk wants his audience to believe, it was in fact TYT workers who initiated contact with IATSE first. You could still have been a bad boss who said yes to the union, and then you still get to kind of claim the moral high ground when you talk about unions, but you don't anymore. You can't. It's not a thing. It's like you could have, it didn't, like just saying no to the union was just like foreclosed on all that, except he still gets to pretend. I wonder if there's a little voice in him that's going, man, I'm just bullshitting these fucking people. I'm totally just bullshitting these people right now. They don't have any idea that I'm a union buster. They don't have any idea the kind of employment conditions. I definitely did a good job preventing that. If only that fucking Hank isn't out there screaming about it. Good thing he's weird and does a bad job reaching people. It's about the best thing he's got going for him.
Well, unfortunately, on the right wing, there were some crazy, zealous, tiny amount of left wing activists too, right? No, don't do it in a physical way. Do it in a way of politics, rhetoric, unionization, standing up for your average man, standing up for your average workers. I love that. Be the change.
Do you, Cenk? Do you love that? Because you took advantage of average people. I was having mental problems and I was having difficulty not knowing I was autistic. I could give you and I did my best. I did my fucking best at that fucking job. I did really good video editing, and I had to do that all under the extra stress of being disrespected by Cenk Uygur. Do you know how disrespectful it felt the whole time? To see him say that shit into a camera while I have paperwork that says I don't get health insurance in a folder. You know how disrespectful it is to have somebody working full-time 40-hour weeks doing video editing 40 hours and you call them part-time. You don't respect anybody if you treat them like that. That shows you exactly who this guy is. He doesn't respect his workers. You can't persuade me that calling somebody part-time while they're working 40 hours is a respectful act. It's just a sign of deep disrespect. This is all performance. This is bullshit.
Change in the world that you want to see.
Especially with like private equity firms now buying up hospitals and, you know, making the working conditions unbearable in said hospitals. You know, the other thing that I just want to note, I know that we focus heavily on national politics and in some cases also, you know, foreign policy and international news. But guys, I think that national politics oftentimes can make you feel powerless and hopeless. And I don't want you to feel that way because believe it or not, you actually have a lot more say over what goes on in local government or what goes on in your workplace if you organize your workplace.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'm going to affirm that. I lived that. I didn't have leverage to get health care. The only possible hope I had for getting leverage wasn't asking Cenk for help, because when I did that, they like the first meeting I had in May with HR was, hey, can we fix this? I don't understand. This is crazy. Like, you know, that was the gist of it. Like, this is stressing me out. And why are you doing this? And their answer wasn't, oh God, we made a mistake. Well, we'll fix you. Well, we hear your help. We hear your pain. We're progressive leaders. We're going to live our principles. We're going to make it okay. We're so sorry that you had to deal with this. We didn't want this to go on this long paperwork goof. Oh, well, I would have been like, yeah, fine, whatever. At least you did the right thing when you were called out for it. That's okay. I'll give you respect points for that. That's not what happened. They changed my classification. I didn't have to do invoices. Now I'm on the payroll, but now I'm part-time working 40-hour weeks for no benefits. That's how they responded when I asked for help. So this is all part of what I'm saying about agency. So I exercised my agency to do something, and I can say, to confirm what Anna is saying right here. It gave me something to not live for. I don't mean to be like doomerist, so to speak, but like it was an emotional lift I needed. I was so depressed. I was so stressed and angry and upset, and I had to deal with those emotions every single day. But actually taking some action, doing something about it, not just rolling over and taking it. And I didn't know where the unionizing was going to go. I had no idea Cenk was going to become a fucking congressperson and it would turn into this insane story. I wanted to go to a doctor. I needed to have my butthole checked for prostates. There might even be some in there right now. I don't know. I needed help. I wanted to end the stress. So I took action, and just the act of doing something did actually help my stress levels in that. It gave us something to do. It gets really exciting when you're doing a union organizing campaign, because you kind of have a lot of eye contact conversations too when you're really kind of getting into it. You're like, you know, because you at a certain point you got to stop using company. You don't do it on company communication. Have real conversations. You know, deliberately check in about your seriousness about it. But like it gets kind of fun. It's a little cloak and dagger kind of, you know. And there's stretches where nothing happens too, because you do have to pick your moments when you can talk to people.
So think about what you can have an impact on, what you can maybe control in your immediate surroundings, and don't allow some of the dysfunction that takes place on a national level to make you feel hopeless, because I totally get how that can happen.
My hopelessness was useful to Cenk. You see, like that's kind of one of the points I'm going to get at in the film, is like that me being a singular person with a shaky foundation. I don't think he knew where I was coming from, because I present much better off than I really am, especially during this time period. I could get the energy together to do a job doing work I knew I was good at. It was really hard. I didn't know I was autistic at the time. I used noise canceling headphones. I was reacting to my autistic traits as I have my entire life. But at the time, you know, the energy burn I gave to that business in order to make sure that I did a good enough job to keep it so I could keep that income was because I was desperate. And it's still, on top of that, the stress, right? And then I had to start a union to try to get healthcare and end the stress. Shit, I just lost track of my thoughts.
I've definitely fallen for that trap before. So just want to give you that tip.
Yeah, and so last couple things on that. Look, you can go on TYT.com and read our mission statement, and I really want you guys to. And just
let's hear if we believe this mission statement.
The summary of it is boldly pursue the truth.
Boldly pursue the truth. At least it doesn't say tell the truth. You're only pursuing it. That leaves it open for you to lie about your workers.
Challenge the establishment.
Okay, challenging establishment. Hey, if you label the union drive as the establishment, then you can union bust, and then he wasn't union busting, he was challenging the establishment. Don't you see?
And drive positive change. Right?
Drive positive change. Oh, what kind of car is positive change? Does it have leather seats? See, I went a little silly with that last one. It's fine. He's proud of himself for having the mission statement, but the word truth is in there. And they're still not going to tell the truth about this this situation at all.
And we came up with that over a dozen years ago, and we've stuck by it every step of the way. So every day you see us boldly pursuing truth.
Except on those days where they were putting out false statements about their workers. That's definitely not asterisk this comment.
Challenging the establishment and driving positive change. So when you guys do that in your own life, oh God, that makes me so happy.
Except when they had to do it against Cenk.
I love to see that. So thank you for empowering yourself and for others, Elsa. All right, and
there you go. Okay, all right, good. We got to the end there. That's fine. This next one. All right, this is Alex Jones' context, but the thing he had to say about it is just because I'm not going to do this.
There are lies in the world.
Yeah.
And so you can't stuff all the lies back in the box. Okay, you have.
Yeah, the lie got out. Lie about the workers. And even if there's ever a correction, it's never going to reach as many people as the lie reached.
To defeat the lies, you have to fight against them. You have to fight them with truth, fight them with more speech. So Alex Jones's ideas are the easiest things.
So I'm just doing, I don't know why I highlighted this one. I just recorded it, but.
Okay, you have to defeat the lies.
I'm defeating lies. I'm fighting their lie with truth. It's a lie about me. It's a lie about my friends. And it really bothers me that the people who got to control the way this story was told are the people who had an incentive to be dishonest about it. That's a major reason why I'm doing the movie. So, okay. How about we call it a day, huh? Let's just drop it down to here. You can see all this. This is all my receipts. This is a big one for their version versus my version. When I say that I didn't get paid, I have all the Gusto records. I don't have them all posted, but they're all available to a journalist. I have samples. I have it all summarized here. Like everything I'm saying is verifiable and confirmable. If I did get paid, you'd see it in these where those red arrows are. You'd see it, and you don't. This is when I finally did. 12 months after working full time, I got my first paid day off. That sounds like some bullshit, doesn't it? No benefits. This is the independent contractor agreement. That's absolutely absurd. Here's how the state assesses whether you're an independent contractor. Invoice sample. I asked for help. This is my email saying, can I be compensated for time I took off? There's them saying, no, we will not pay back day benefits. So so there's, I just included a lot of stuff. They called me part-time editor. My bonus that they did pay me was for $655, amounting to 79 days of a year in which I had worked the full year. If we're going to use 365, I didn't work 365 days, but counting it from the date, my bonus covered 79 days, even though I had been employed doing full-time labor for 365 days. And Cenk's, just to summarize here, Cenk, if their version is true and they need to come out and prove it against what I'm saying, they have to prove that the workers who spoke to these journalists and these articles lied, including me as well as others, but also that the emails that were showed to these journalists showing that the actual time when we first reached out to IATSE, when I say we, I meant that I wasn't there at this time, in April of 2018, and then I start working in late 2018, and then I woke it back up in the spring of 2019. So Cenk would have to prove that all of those are lies. So this is the thing here. One of these is not true. So we'll leave it on there we'll leave it on screen. Let's go back to the shrimp squad. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I didn't frame up the camera. I got to give the shrimpies a bath. I almost said tongue bath. That would have been strange to say out loud. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for dialing it up. I hope you're interested in more. Sorry everything is fucking quit swearing, Hank. Inconsistent. I really keep promising to try to get consistent, but it doesn't seem to be a thing I'm capable of. It actually does kind of help. It gives you a nice so that's what it's going to be. I'm working on the fundraiser stuff. I'm kind of strategizing now, but it's going to get kinetic soon, meaning I'm going to start making like formal videos for it and writing some stuff and planning how I'm going to approach other outlets to try to promote it. That's the best I can do right now. And so please continue to support. Please be patient if you think I'm not being consistent. I'm always doing stuff behind the scenes, and I'm burning a lot of energy, keeping my head on straight too. Been doing my walk lately too, which has been really good for my health. In fact, I probably should get out and walk a little bit tonight. So I'm doing my best, and I'm trying. And check out Suck Professor for some gaming shit. And please take care of yourself too. You know, we got a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world, and join me. Let's get some reading going on. I don't want to do some fucking book club bullshit, but if you're reading a book, let me know. Send me a message somewhere. It'll encourage me to read. I've checked out the same book like 5 times from the library, and it gives it to you for 3 weeks on my Kindle through the Libby app. If you're in California, it's rad. I think other states have the Libby app. If you can get your public library connected to your Libby app, it's awesome. So good, even for books on tape. It really works nicely. Honestly, it's a beautifully designed app. It's one of those apps that you're like, man, I can't believe I'm not being charged for every single bit of this. This is like this is just a well-designed, well-made program. So yeah, read. I'm just trying to talk myself into reading because I'm just going to be on TikTok watching people talk about, you know, narcissism and leftism and shit. So, good night. Take care. Bye. See ya on the other stuff. Be well. Caw. Caw.